Welcome back to the Aviation RC Noob podcast. You found us. My name is Joe.
And I'm Matt.
Now, buckle in. Let's take off.
All right, welcome back to the Aviation RC Noob podcast. You are now listening to episode 104, Class G with Travis Charbonneau. We in the last couple weeks, FliteTest 2025 came about, and every year for I don't know how many years we can go back and try to figure out how many that has been. But I've been in the STEM tent, and I always run into this gentleman, Travis Charbonneau, who, after a couple of years, I started to realize, like, wait, I think I've seen that guy somewhere. And I realized, oh, no, wait, I have. He's been in some of the flight test videos. And we just got to talking, and he's a really amazing guy. But I think what was interesting is, like, the two of us kind of geeked out about the easy packs. And he had a couple really interesting ideas about what different new techniques on kind of how to approach the problem of creating really visually interesting aircraft while keeping it crazy light, because the FliteTest Easy Packs, especially the original ones, had a very, very tight weight limit. You know, I think he had maybe 20 grams to play with.
I think it was, man.
Something like that.
They were great.
Yeah,
they were gray, and they were super. I mean, they did the job to get us started, but yeah. So every time you turn around, it's like when you try to design a new plane, it's weight is a huge factor on those old packs.
Yeah, huge one. So anyway, so we got to talking, and I kept bugging him, and he showed me. He's like, "Oh, check this out," and he showed me his idea, and I was like, "What in the world? This is amazing! I want to talk more about this. I want to excite people who are just getting in the hobby about what they can do with relatively simple methods." And so we're going to talk to him about what those methods were, but we're also going to talk to him about his introduction to flight test. Introduction to flight in general. You have a lot more going on than just you make a lot of really cool ideas regarding lightweight planes. So we're going to get into that a little bit. So Travis, say hi, and then of course we're going to welcome back Joe, because it's been a minute for both of us.
I was wondering if you were going to let me talk at some point.
Hi Joe, welcome back.
It's good to be back. Travis, thanks for coming.
Joe.
Yeah,
absolutely.
good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. So this has been a long time talk between Matt and I, and he's exactly right, man. We'd run into each other at FliteTest once a year and just talk about anything and everything. And when I introduced that new kind of what do you want to call it? Kind of the graphics are kind of baked into the print kind of thing, and
yeah. And like I said, we'll talk about the details. That'll be the meat and potatoes of it,
right?
But yeah, when you were talking about your new method, I was like, "Oh, I mean, it doesn't change everything, but like it opens up a whole new method, a whole new way to see what you can do with these planes." I mean, you've got somebody like Rasterize on the forums. I can't remember his real name. I feel terrible for not remembering it, but he's for the long time been kind of a helper of FliteTest to create, like, turn regular white foam into, full color replicas, right?
Right.
And he's all about that, and he's actually done some really exciting and interesting things with doing that to the easy packs, and turning the butterfly into like full color regalia without needing markers. You just sort of print it out and put it on. But with that comes added weight usually. Like most people aren't able to kind of pull off the foam or pull off the paper and then put on this new and not have a curl and get all distorted.
Yeah, curling's a thing.
Yeah, curling's a thing. Well, I mean, granted, these are small, so it like helps, but it's like every little bit of misalignment starts to have a play. And so, I mean, it's a really, again, I've seen them done and they look amazing. Okay. When you can afford the extra weight, it's spectacular. But the method you talked about, I mean, the weight gain is almost nothing. And you're actually literally removing paper and weight to create the design.
Yes.
And so it's pretty cool. I'm so excited.
Well, why don't we just go ahead and, because you keep alluding to, let's ask Travis how he got into what he's doing and let him talk about it.
Sure. So it started off, I want to say 2016, 17, somewhere in there. I'm self-employed, well into it, 15, 17 years into it now at that point. And a buddy of mine called me out and he's like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And I was like, why? And he goes, well, I got some drones and let's just fly it. So it got me into drones. This time I'm spending thousands of dollars on unique, like a 5H20 drone and a freaking, just crazy money and cameras and all kinds of stuff and getting aerial.
And so these are like quadcopters that are like photography quadcopters,
hexacopters and octocopters actually, but
okay,
yeah,
yep.
So, but and it's just like that drone world just kind of just set me off. Now, back up several years from my childhood, my grandfather was in the Air Force, and he was, and I still have all of his old pictures from when he passed away. Grandma gave them to me. He was in the middle of training, and he was in the Air Force days back then they had, and I think they still do. You had your first trainer and your second trainer, and as you advance throughout becoming a pilot, you got a more difficult airplane. He passed.
What era, if you don't mind me asking, what era was
that? During World War II. I couldn't tell you the era. During the 40s. That's all I ever understood it to be.
Yeah,
but
that's all it needs to be, right?
Yeah, and the black and white photos and this and that and the other. And I still have some of those. Actually, I have most all of them. But I remember as a kid going to Grandpa and Grandma's house, and he having the control line airplanes, and he had them hanging on the bedroom wall, and Grandma let him have them. But and then my mom and my aunt would give him control line airplanes for Christmas because that was an easy Christmas present to give. So I have all those old airplanes from the 70s and the 80s and stuff like that he got for Christmas presents. But so that's kind of where it kicked it off for me. I grew up around it with my grandfather. So fast forward into what I was talking about, into the drones. And I was just screwing around one night looking for videos to kind of fix a gimbal problem with a drone I had. And I popped across a FliteTest video. And I'm like, what? These guys are shooting at, they're shooting at an RC airplane with apples. I'm like, you don't have any idea how much these things cost. And then I just,
right.
Oh my God. You talk about people that binge watch TV. I binge watched for hours. I think it was 4:00 that morning, and I'm binge watching their videos, and I'm like, wait a second, they're building these things out of they're scratch building it like a hobby, and it's so I was hooked.
Yeah.
And then you can get free plans. I mean, so I'm full in. I set the drones completely off the side, and I was working on my 107 commercial pilot's license for drones. I finished that up throughout time, but man, I'm building anything and everything I could. I'm downloading. I'm spending the whole night on a Friday or Saturday night just downloading plans because they're all free, and I'm downloading them, I'm saving them, I'm downloading them. I'm like, oh, this is cool, that's cool, that's cool. And have I built any of those? Well, a few, but I've still got them stashed somewhere. I will get to them when I'm probably 80, but it's
Welcome to the life of an RC pilot.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're hooked, you're bitten by the bug. You're bitten by the bug. And these guys definitely. I mean, it's just like, I don't know, just like anybody. And I think, when we talk to you, it's gonna say, hey man, what's your favorite airplane and this and that and the other. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. My favorite airplane, well, there's three, but probably my favorite airplane is when I watched the video of the pizza box. And it was just like, this is something doesn't cost you any money. It's just something cool. It's something that they did, and it's true. Everything about that group, that gang, that everybody, that whole thing. It's all good natured. Everything about it is it's a sharing thing. Nobody's expecting anything in return. It's just for the love of the hobby, and it bleeds off into everybody. And that's, it's just inspiration beyond belief, when you see and these guys have a good time and they're laughing and they're joking and you're seeing some of the stuff that they're doing. And it's just like, man, what a job. What a job. Any one of us would just, love to have that job where you can play with RC airplanes all day and that's your job. So yeah, that's where it kicked off for me. Fast forward a few years. Yeah. I'm dating a girl out of Cleveland, and I'm making the trip up to Ohio, and I think it was in 2021.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I think it was in 2021. I think FliteTest was still in July, about that time. And as a matter of fact, I know it was because my birthday's in July, and I drove up. I spent a week and a half with this girl, and she goes, "What are you going for your birthday?" I said, "You know what I want to do? I want to go gliding. I want to get in a plane." And so we went gliding up around there, and believe it or not, she was game for it. She got in a glider herself, and I got in a glider, and it was good money, but it was a fun trip. And then she goes, "What do you want to do next?" I said, I would like to go get some steak. And then tomorrow is FliteFest. And she goes, "What's that?" And I showed her, and she's like, "Okay, game."
Sounds good. Yeah, let's do that.
So we did. We went down there on a Saturday, and I think that's where I met you for the first time, Matt.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
No. There's no sorry about that. And it's funny. I really remember the first conversation. You were talking with her about something, and you're like, "You're with this guy," and I said, "Yeah, that'd be me." And somehow or another, you guys got on the discussion of a butter knife and how the butter knife cuts, and I just,
oh man, yeah, no, it was how arguments happen in a relationship.
Yeah, that's
and how, yeah, and they're over the dumbest. I mean, not the dumbest things, but they're seemingly the dumbest things. I mean,
yeah,
and it was a matter of perspective, and that argument, the butter knife thing. My ex was a lefty,
yeah,
and I was a righty.
That's right.
And it's about perspective. Is really what it comes down to. Because again, if you're cutting using the butter knife with your right hand, it shoots the butter across the thing. If you cut with the left hand, it stays put, and the butter slice comes off. And she's like, "Why are you complaining all the time? This is stupid. This is how you do it." And I'm like, "No, man." And then we had again that whole discussion, and that had to do with but it was about perspective, and I think that was the same kind of conversation you guys were having. It was like she had one way to see it,
right,
and you had your way to see it. And like the truth was, you're both right.
That's it.
Really, it just you had no idea that the other was struggling in the ways that they were with the topic.
Yeah,
yeah.
And that's
it was cool. I don't know, it was cool. You guys were freaking adorable. So
thanks.
And it was just cool to talk to you. And I was like, this is a guy. And I sometimes I erringly don't know a friend or I don't know an enemy. I'm immediately your friend, and that sometimes that backfires, but we won't get into that. But most of the time, like, I feel like we're all here in this hobby, and part of it is giving each other a bunch of guff, right? And then if you give it back, then you're like, okay, cool, we're good. And I did a little bit of that with you and her, and you guys both. I mean, you gave it right back, like without even blinking, and I was like, okay, cool, you're my people.
Yeah,
all right, we're in.
Yeah,
and it went from there, and then I think Joe. I think you were there, Joe.
I think you.
I think that was the first.
I think that might have been my first year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were tooling people around in the cars or in the.
Was he driving the golf cart?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do that every year.
Man, that's my kind of people. Anybody's gonna drive me around in a golf cart, man. That's my kind of people.
Yeah.
You need to get a tip.
Hey, are you kidding me? He had like a whole bunch of little interviews. 1.5 minute interviews. Oh, you gotta go. Okay, I'll see you on the way back. And then continue the interview with the guy.
Yeah, talk about meeting people for a short burst at a time. It's like single serving people. Yeah,
it is my favorite job to do of the jobs that I really can do because I don't feel comfortable being out on the flight line as in that capacity. So being able to cart people around, helping people, it's an easy job. I mean, let's be real. Kind of a heavy fella, so get to sit on my rear and put my foot on a gas pedal and move is kind of nice. But yeah, I get to pick people up and pick up families. Pick up whole families, and the little kids are super excited and ready to go, and just talk them up a little bit and have fun and drop them off. And hey, there was one year I think I carted a father-son back and forth like 3 or 4 times because they were in combats and they were flying just regular, and they would crash plane. All right, let's go back to camp again. No, I'd pick them up and drive them out. And okay, you want to ride back in? Nah, we'll walk. It's okay. Okay. Then a couple hours later, I'd see him again. Hey, you need a ride? So
nice
stuff.
Yeah.
It's
funny how, and like I just mentioned earlier, it's funny what FliteTest and that has done for just bringing people together. And that's, getting to know Josh getting to know Jen and Steph and that whole family, and Noah and Mike, and that's what it's about. It's about bringing people together. It's about, because nobody's ill-willed. It's about enjoying the love of what it is, and everybody there is good-natured. Nobody's trying to, everybody's, and it's kind of like I used to do I've done a lot of stuff, from skydiving to riding dunes to scuba diving. I'm, a master scuba diver, and I've done a lot. And it's like, when you're in a setting like that where everybody's enjoying kind of the same thing, it's a buddy system. There's no, hey, I got this, or I can help, and that's what it truly is.
It's like, how can I help you have more fun?
Correct. And and that's what brings people together. Out of the years I've gone to FliteTest, I don't think I've ever seen any disgruntledness. I haven't seen anybody getting any arguments, or I just haven't. It's just, man, it's just good, clean, honest fun. And that's so addictive. But
it's something you want to be part of once you've seen it firsthand.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the ability to bring something like that to the world. And I'm serious about the world, because, this year I was in the STEM tent this year, and working with Trevor, and Trevor and I become really close. We talk almost.
Trevor is the STEM coordinator for FliteTest.
Yeah. Trevor Seal. Great. Yeah. Just great.
Oh, he's such a great ambassador.
Absolutely, man. And so he invited me on to work with him this year in the STEM tent, and so I accepted. And I mean, when I mean global scale, I was there with people from Italy. I was there with people from Germany. I was there with people from Asia. It's unbelievable. It truly is. And Carl, go ahead.
I was going to say, I met Pablo from Argentina.
Yeah, exactly.
And chatted with him forever. And I was like, Argentina?
Yeah.
Whoa. And he's like, you don't understand. There's like 400 people who fly RC in Argentina. Like, it's so hard to get a handful of people together, let alone this many. And it's so amazing to be here and see this and be part of this.
Correct.
I can't wait to bring it back and try to inspire more people to be part of something like this, Yeah, it's so cool.
Correct. So yeah, I mean, that's what got me into aviation and RC aircraft. Fast forward a year or two, at the end of 2021, I started in on my private pilot license. So, and we talked about that. You and I have shared some stories about the struggles of, because when I got into
life shoves itself in front of all that fun that you're trying to have
so quickly.
So, and you realize when you jump into that, and I looked at that, and I was looking at colleges. I was just like, I'm just going to jump into a college, and every college wants you to go through a 4-year curriculum, and it's $120,000 to do this and do that. And I'm like, man, my pocketbook, I can't afford that. So it was something that I strived to do, and ended up going to a local airport in Lawrence, Kansas, and met up, and it took me about 2 years, because I'm fully employed. I got bills to pay just like anybody else, and I ended up studying online through 3 different companies, and it cost me about $17,000 to get my private pilot license, and
which is that's nothing to shake your stick at. And you're like, at a certain point, you get a ways in, you're like, man, I got to get through this.
Right. And
I'm already a long way in. I got to go forward. Otherwise I'm going to fall off, and I might as well throw away that money.
And we talked about your struggles too, Matt. And it's just like, I've talked to so I know that Josh and Dave and all those guys, and I don't know if it was Lee and Stefan, but they were building a kit plane, and they were all going to try to get their pilot license. I haven't talked to them since.
But the Van's RV8, right? Or RV whatever.
It was an RV, like an RV8 or an RV12 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's a hell of an undertaking. and then try to get your pilot's license on top of it. And I remember, like you said, man, I was so deep into it and so much money wrapped up into it. And I'm getting to the final stages. I've already soloed and I'm sitting at the hold short line of runway 33 in KLWC Lawrence Airport. It's a little Class D airport. Fantastic, beautiful place to land, beautiful place to learn. And I'm in a beautiful 1970 something Cessna 172, which is I
was going to ask you what plane did you learn on?
Yeah,
and that's it. Most of them are 172s because they're inexpensive, they're reliable, they're good on gas mileage, so they're efficient as far as getting people to learn. And they're a trainer.
They're a trainer, and they're the perfect. I don't want to say perfect, but they're just another in a long series of good general aviation aircraft. And I'm getting down to the point of my instructor saying, he goes, I'm going to give you on your your first 50-mile solo. And I'm going to fly down to Emporia, Kansas and back. He said, I want 3 full stops. And we're sitting there. He goes, but we're going to go up and I want to do a pattern. I want to see where you're at mentally today before I send you off in this plane by yourself. And we're sitting at the hold short line. I call the hold short. We're waiting for traffic to come in. And he looks at me and he goes, I want you to realize that right now, from here on out, this is where 70% of students either run out of money, can't handle the solo flight to a 50-mile flight, or they just fail. They just stop. It's too much anxiety. You know what I mean? And it was just like, I looked at him. I said, I'm too far in to quit. And he goes, that's what I'm scared of. And he goes, he said, so we went up, did a couple laps around the pattern, pulled off some pretty good landings. And he goes, you're good to go. Gave me the okay, signed my freaking book, and off I went. And
nice.
Yeah. So 30 minutes into the flight, I'm coming up to Emporia, and I'm having a hard time finding that airport on the ground. You know what I mean?
I'm laughing because we were doing a solo prep, and I had the same thing. I'm like, I know it's here. Like, I know, but I don't see it at all.
Right.
Like where?
And it's just,
and it's terrifying.
It is absolutely terrifying. And I think I was at 4,500 feet that day, and I'm already on my descent. I'm looking at the nav, and it says I'm in my 5. I've made my 5-mile call, and I'm already descending to a pattern altitude of 1,800 feet. Because it's 1,000 feet above AGL is your pattern altitude, and the AGL here is about 800 feet mean sea level.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 1,000 feet above that, so it puts me at 1,800 feet, and I'm looking, and turned the plane, and I was in the airspace, and it's a learning experience, and playing with RC airplanes is what got me to that point, and I still play with RC airplanes. It's a hell of a lot of fun.
In which way? I'm not disagreeing with you, but like, what was it about the RC planes that kind of pulled you to it?
Okay. So 2025, just a few weeks ago, we're at FliteTest, and I don't know if you noticed that it was Saturday afternoon, and that aerobatic plane flew over top of FliteTest.
Yeah.
He's dropping the smoke, and that was, I don't know if you noticed it, but everybody stopped flying their plane. It was dead quiet on the airfield. Well, that guy was up there doing loopity loops and turns, and he was just having a good time being an acrobat
doing
pilot.
Corkscrew drops and
and he was flying over top, and that affected me the same way that you noticed that it affected everybody else, because nobody was flying their plane, and the field got completely dead quiet, and you could just hear the hum of that engine. And it's just like, that's what I felt, when I took my first discovery flight. The guy that gave me that discovery flight was in a Cessna twin prop, and he says, I challenge anybody that's a gearhead or anybody to hear the engine when a prop prop plane takes off or it fires off, and hear that moan of that engine and that draw. And I challenge anybody to not have the hair on their back of their neck stand up, and just wonder, what is it like to control something like that? Because everybody drives a car, but when you're standing and that prop fires off, and even to this day, when I get in my plane and that prop fires off, it's a feeling inside you that you just words cannot describe. I've got friends that are pilots for American Airlines. I got friends that going up in Cleveland that a buddy of mine, he flies the tractor plane for the gliders when we go gliding, and he flies for Southwest. And he says, don't get me wrong, I love my job, but I'm just a bus driver. He said, my true passion is getting behind a prop plane. And so that's what took me from RC aircraft and exactly what I described to you, that feeling or that understanding or that visual perspective, just the sound of the engine and seeing that acrobatic guy pull the smoke bomb, do a loop, come back out and around. You hear the revs drive up as he's dropping altitude. And that's the best way I can describe it is everybody on the field that day felt exactly the way I felt. So it's a consensus between everybody that's an RC airplane. When you have that successful flight or you see something like that, you just wonder, what is it?
It's all inspiring.
It's so inspiring, man. And it's just like, so being to air shows and stuff like that, that's what threw me over the top. And that's, again, man, I can't, you just sit there in awe. You truly do. Your cat's in the middle of the picture. It's great.
This never happens.
That's
too.
great.
He's usually doing it.
That's great. But so that's what. So being around RC aircraft and getting to build planes that I would absolutely love to be able to fly. That's what put me into a full-on pilot's license. So. And then eventually buying a plane here just last July, I bought a plane. I bought into a plane.
So what does that mean? You said you bought into it. You and I talked about it in detail, but if you could share with the audience what that means, because we were talking okay, we're on this journey to get a private pilot's license, right? At some point or another, cross the fingers, everything goes well for me. I know it's going to happen. It's just, is it going to be a quick or still, expensive and painful method or whatever? But I'll get there. But at some point you get to the end of that and you're like, okay, well, what am I going to do with this? Right. How am I going to enjoy this privilege I've earned, I've worked for?
You've worked for, you passed the test, you've studied, and that knowledge test is that's a big one. And you got 4 other.
It's expensive too. It's not cheap either.
It's not cheap. Yeah. And, but yeah, so getting to that point, you're like, okay, so what am I going to fly now? I want to fly a plane. And let's be clear about that. You understand it. It's not like driving a car, because you have a driver's license. You can get in your mom's Honda Civic, and then the next day you can get in your dad's truck. That's not the way it is. Mm-hmm. You have to be certified for each and every single plane, model, everything about that plane. You have to be certified. You have to have an endorsement saying you can fly that plane.
It's very specifically for safety. If something goes wrong, they need to know that you know that plane enough to be able to handle yourself when things are going wrong.
Correct.
That you can know where the things are supposed to be and the process you need to be safe, and try to get down to the ground as safe as you possibly can, given whatever your situation is. But if it's a plane you don't know, if you haven't adjusted the rearview mirrors and whatever, you're like, oh shoot, I should pay attention to all that stuff. The time to do that is not when you're, the plane engine went out and you're looking for a space to land. That's not when to go, oh shit, I should probably learn how to fly this thing, learn its little quirks.
Right.
So you got to be certified in each one. They want to know that when you go up, that plane as well as you need to be safe to come back down.
Correct. And
yeah,
the best way I described it, because the girl I was dating at the time, she goes, I just don't understand. And I said, well, let me put it to you this way. I said, you get a flat tire in a plane, you're not pulling off the side of the road to change it. It's not, it's And it took me the longest time to truly understand that. And it's not so much about the safety of you and your plane. Because like my instructor said, and I asked him that one time. I said, "So the engine goes out," and he goes, "The insurance company just bought the insurance company owns the plane as soon as that engine fails." He said, "Your whole goal is to get to the ground safely and not hurt a soul." He said, "Because if you hurt a soul, now you're up for involuntary manslaughter because you weren't controlling your plane." So it's believe it or not, it's more about the safety of the people on the ground. Because you
can even see when you look at some of the accident reports, you can tell that the pilot's decision wasn't based on, can I survive this?
Right.
It was about how little damage I can do on my way to get to the ground.
Correct.
Like where can I put myself down so that I don't hurt anybody else?
Correct.
Like whether or not I survive, I'd love to, but what's probably more important is to make sure that nobody else is involved in this if I can help it.
Correct.
You know,
that's the mentality.
Which is a different mindset.
It is.
It's a different animal.
It's a sacrificial mindset, and it's a decision making, and that's what we call ADM, and it's aeronautical decision making. And there's so many factors without going into great detail about that. But
no, right. That's a whole separate podcast.
Absolutely, man.
and I absolutely would love having that podcast with you, just sitting down and kind of going through some of the reality check of it. But when you're like, to bring it back to RC, like when we always kind of joke, you're like, hey, well that plane's up and flying. We're like, well, it's got to come down. You're like, yeah, it's going to come down one way or the other. Right. Like it's either coming down in a controlled manner and it's going to, you're going to fly it again maybe. Or it's going to land at some point. And I mean, and that was one of the things that, like, I mean, we joke about it because at RC, it's, nobody's life is on the line. Right.
Well,
but in a full scale, it's like, well, that's still true.
True.
So let's make sure it's always the right way.
So everybody that flies a plane, especially out in a flight test or Flight Fest, like this year, everybody gets that feeling that I'm talking about when you're in the airplane and your engine dies. Oh shit. And that feeling that I'm trying to describe is when your plane gets out of control and it goes and lands in the crowd. You're like, oh shit, I hope it didn't hurt anybody. You know what I mean? That's the decision. Yeah. That's that aeronautical decision making that you have to be aware of when you're
right.
And it's a thing of it's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's a matter of when it's going to happen. It truly is. But so back to that. So buying into a plane, I started renting the plane. I was certified for that 172 and I started renting the plane, and I had money to throw out there. I had saved up for this. I'm not very wealthy at all. I'm just like you, just like anybody else, trying to make bills pay.
Yep.
But so I'm renting the plane to the tune of $180 an hour, and
that's no joke.
That's no joke. And so anyhow, I flew the girl that I was dating. She came. She goes, "Well, let's go somewhere." So we flew down to Wichita, Kansas. And by the time we went down and she paid for the hamburger, it's called the $100 hamburger.
Yeah.
By the time she paid for the hamburger and this and that and the other, and we had come back, I had spent $620 for the time because I'm paying for rent.
Because that's that's time there's engine time on the aircraft,
right?
Which is the expensive time.
Your hob.
There's also right, and then there's also time that you are using the airplane. It's not available to anybody else.
Correct.
So which is a little separate. Plus, you pay for fuel. And then, of course, the hamburger costs, its own special price.
Right. So
it's usually really good, though.
It was over $600 for that afternoon for us to just fly down to Wichita and get a hamburger, sit on the tarmac and watch. And it was a private airfield. It's called Stearman Airport. Mm-hmm. It's cool because, anyhow, long story short, without going into detail, it's just a great place to fly, and they got a great restaurant. Flew back, and I was like, holy smoke, $620, for that afternoon. And I was strolling through the lobby, and I seen on the bulletin board, plane, I'm selling my share of this plane, blah, blah, blah. And I had heard other students and getting into it. I went and looked at the plane. I called the guy, and he goes, I've sold my share, but one of the other guys is going to sell their share. So it's a plane share. In this particular share, there's 4 people that own it. I'm one of 4 people. It was a $25,000 buy-in, and that you can't go get a loan. You have to have that kind of money. I just happen to have that saved up. So I spent the $25,000, and now I'm one of 4 owners. So you don't own the plane, and let me break that down into something that people understand, and that's money and what they can afford. It cost me $225 a month to own that plane after the $25,000 buy-in. We put that, all 4 owners put $225 in a month, and that goes into a savings account. That pays for our annual, that pays for our inspections, that it pays for anything that could go wrong with the plane, that pays for
the hangar,
our hangar fees, that pays for our insurance, that pays everything. So owning a plane by itself, I'm going to take a wild guess, it's anywhere between 6 to 12, 60, 13, sometimes $6 to $15,000 just to pay for the ownership of the plane if you had it paid off. So that plane is valued at about $120. It's a Beechcraft Sundowner C-23.
We'll talk about its history in a little bit so we can get, because there's a couple models out there,
right?
That people have made. So if you're interested in turning a balsa model into a foam, I might even be able to find a plan set for a foam version of it.
Absolutely.
They're interesting birds.
They're interesting, but I went from a high wing aircraft to a low wing aircraft. Completely different flying characteristics, still all basics, but the way that plane feels, and like you and I have talked about it, going into a
well, so tell us, so as RC pilots, right? Like it's easy to like, oh, I got a high wing model. They're pretty abundant, and there's a handful, like the RV is a good example of a low wing,
right?
And there's a handful of aircraft. So tell us, because if you fly the two as an RC pilot, you'll be able to tell the difference. They behave differently in the air. Tell me what your pilot experiences are regarding the two different planes. What would you say are the biggest differences, and why did you get drawn enough to it? Was it mostly because it was available, or because you also like the flight characteristics you saw?
So I didn't know about the flight characteristics. One, it was like, to me, everything is visual. I'm an artist, so everything is all about visual pleasing. So just to me, a low wing aircraft is way sexier than a high wing aircraft. That's just my personal preference. It's just when you look at a Beechcraft Bonanza or a Piper Cherokee, it's just a sexy plane, man. Everything about it, especially a VTOL.
Yeah.
So there's that visual aspect.
Yeah, the VTOLs have that sex appeal.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
For some reason,
the graphics, they just do. They're just a good looking plane. So when I found out it was a low wing aircraft, I went and looked at it and was like, man, this is absolutely a sexy plane. I'm gonna have to learn how to fly a low wing aircraft. And
yeah.
So the best way I can absolutely explain it is flying a Cub, the simple Cub that FliteTest has, and that thing it'll get whipped around. It's like flying the old Fogey. It'll get whipped around. It'll and then you
have to coordinate your turns.
Correct.
Because it will tip stall on approach.
Yeah, it will, and most planes will, and it's just like so. The best way I can describe this is I went from a 172 and into a 182 in some of my training. So you're hanging from a wing like a pendulum. So any disturbance of that wing, you're feeling it down on the low side. So imagine a clock swinging, or a guy in a parachute, he's swinging. So anything that disturbance is affected, it's magnified as you're the pendulum getting swung around. Now, switch to a low wing aircraft, it's truly like riding a magic carpet. So any disturbance any disturbance that you feel on that low wing, is not as jerky. I mean, it's not.
You're in the middle of the rotation, so
Correct.
You're not being kind of swung around.
Yep.
It's kind of rotating around you
almost, or you're going with the flow of it. You're not feeling an after effect or the turbulence doesn't. I mean, the turbulence is still there.
Oh yeah.
But yes.
Bumpy skies are bumpy skies either which way you shake it. I call them like giant speed bumps.
Correct.
When you go, when you're like, oh, I'm hitting a speed bump, and you kind of slow up as you go up and over the top of that bubble, and you come back down the other side and you speed up a little bit.
Yep.
And then of course when they're quick bubbles, they're little bumps like hitting a speed bump in a grocery store or something.
Correct. And I mean, let's face it, you look at any modern jet airliner, they're low wing aircraft. Anything is traveling from an Airbus 830, I think it was, or a 380 or whatever it is, to like any 737 or a 777. Those are all low wing aircraft, because it's the most comfortable that we can give passengers in a flight.
Yeah.
You don't see any. You do see some commercial high wings, but don't get me wrong, a high wing is still the nostalgia of a high wing. It's just, and that's what I got into flying for, is the nostalgia. That's why I got into RC aircraft. It's just the nostalgia of it, just the feeling of, the aviation that started it all, the aviation that what was it like to be like Amelia Earhart? What was it like to be,
right.
And that's when I got into it. And back to that guy I have friends that are commercial pilots, and they say, their little saying is real planes have props. And that does not matter whether it's an RC aircraft or whether it's a real full scale. I mean, because you see some of these EDF jets, they're cool.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
they're cool, but they have a different sound to them. They have a different feel to them, and they're cool, but there ain't nothing like that prop. It's just something about that prop,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
But
one of the things I noticed flying the low wing, with two things, you get a far better vision of the sky, because the Cessna 172, the wings over top, you're not looking at the sky, you're looking at the ground. And that's kind of important, right? That's all your landmarks and your navigation. That's not on your digital map, is like on the ground. Like, you're looking for the stadium, you're looking for the river, you're looking for the highways. So you're looking for the cities and stuff. Like, you need to see those. So that's important. So sitting on top of the wing, you get a little bit less of that. But I feel like it was open, because usually the cockpit's sitting at the front edge of the wing. So you're kind of looking out and you can see all of it. And then you get all the sky, which I felt really kind of freeing comparatively.
Yeah. So that was the other thing. Like, just people that don't know, it's like, well, I don't want to see the ground. Well, you are.
Yeah, I'm here to be seeing the sky.
Yeah. I mean, and you have a big old bubble window and this and that and the other, and you can see. So your visual perspective. So let's get to that. I mean, your visual perspective is anywhere from 10 to 100 miles out. You're not looking straight down the ground. That's no fun. So when you're looking down the ground, you're looking out. So you see that airport. Well, you may be 10, 15 miles out and you can see that airport. And you're like, oh, there's the airport. How far are we? And you look down at the sat nav or whatever it is. And for flight, in my case, I'm 15 miles out. And it's like, holy smokes, I'm 15 miles away. There ain't no way. But, so that's a visual perspective. So a low wing, that doesn't affect, what I mean? Because you're looking.
It doesn't change how far you can see out, right?
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. So,
and I think the other thing is, obviously one of the things you train for is, in bad situations, you get into a stall situation where your angle's too high for the speed of the plane, and you lose lift for a moment and it drops.
Yep.
And in the Cessna 172, it's abrupt.
It can be. It absolutely.
I mean, if you're really pushing for it, when the lift leaves, it's hard.
Yep.
And you nose over like you're going over a teeter-totter almost.
So power on stall. So like we do power off stall training, and then we do power on stall. So when you're full power, and what that's simulating is you leaving the airport, you're full power in, you're getting your knots and you're getting your angle of attack, and it's VY, VX, and what are you choosing, and this and that and the other. VX is going to give you the most angle of attack, the most lift, and the shortest distance. VY is
trying to get up to altitude as quick as possible.
As quick as possible, and that's what it's doing. So you've lost control, and that's what we talk about, getting behind the plane. And it only takes a couple seconds to get behind that plane, and you're looking at six gauges and you're cross scanning and this and that, checking altitude, airspeed, vertical speed, and heading, and you're checking that, and you're checking your engine gauges, and you're taking off. So what that power on stall is doing is you're full power in, but for some reason you're starting to slow down and you don't realize it. You're starting to slow from 75 to 80 knots down to 60 and down to 50. And then that stall warning horn starts to kick in. And what you're doing is you're slowing the plane down. You're still at that same angle of attack, but now you're slowing it, and it's going to stall. And and when you're close to the ground, you could be 500, 600 feet to the ground. There's no correction to that. That's too close to the ground.
Yeah.
So
you may not be able to recover on that kind of, and that's the whole goal, is to learn how to recover as quick as possible. So hopefully you have options.
correct.
If you're in that case, right?
Correct.
But I noticed there's a big difference between those two planes and how they stall.
Absolutely. So yeah, and a Cessna 172, it's abrupt. It can be. I remember.
It can be. It's not always.
It's not.
But when you're practicing that, it's whoop.
Yeah. Yeah. So do the same thing. So the cool thing about it is being a pilot, I get into the Simple Cub or the Old Fogey, and I believe it or not, the way let's talk about one of my favorite planes. It is the Old Fogey.
Yeah.
And
Joe and I like it too.
It's just great, man. So I have produced, flying through all that, I produced the same thing in the Old Fogey, all those steep turns and stalls and this and that and the other. It's so abrupt on a high wing aircraft that I had the Old Fogey collapse the wings, when I went into a stall, because it tumbled over and it collapsed and it just cracked, So that's how abrupt it is. It's just crazy. It folded the wings up. Granted, there was a little bit, it was a humid day, but so in a high wing aircraft, yeah, it's abrupt because you're on that pendulum effect, and you're feeling everything magnified. But on a low wing, man, you're just riding that magic carpet. It stalls and it's just like, you just kind of hang there. It's just kind of like, it's just hanging there. You're just hanging there. It takes a little bit for it to get to break over, and
it mushes a bit. It rarely is that, but it just kind of comes back down.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to give up for a little bit,
Yep.
And then kind of brings it to about level, and then all the stuff restores, and it's like, oh, okay, oops.
So
I guess I was going a little bit too slow.
That was the first thing that my instructor told me to do. He said, and even in the 172, he's like, just go into the stall, pull your yoke back. He said, don't continue, just wait for the stall to come, because you're gonna slow down, and that's what you're doing. You're watching everything, but your airspeed, your angle of attack, you're watching everything. It's visual flight rules for a reason, VFR.
Right.
And so, long story short, in a low wing aircraft, it does not break over, and high wing it can turn you into a spin.
Nice.
But anyhow, so yeah.
Cool.
The cool thing about related.
Congrats on that, by the way.
Thanks, man.
On finding a path to plane ownership.
So yeah, absolutely. So
you want me to talk about the plane a little bit? I know you've probably learned a little bit about it.
The
Sundowner.
The Sundowner.
Yeah, it's the Beechcraft C-23 Sundowner.
C-23 Sundowner. It's a brick, man. And what I mean by that is that it is built like a tank. So you look at in comparison to another model is a Piper Cherokee, a Piper Warrior, Cherokee 140, 180.
Yeah. Yep.
That is a single door. You have to get in and crawl across. The Sundowner has two doors, makes it heavier aircraft. It has it's very comparable in size and this and that and the other. So what I mean by it's a brick is when you slow down, it's gonna drop. Your glide ratio is still there if you can maintain your glide speed. But when you're coming in for a landing, I learned that I have to keep some angle of it or some speed in to keep that glide ratio coming in for that landing. Because if I pull it back, we practice in general aviation that when you're above the numbers or you're above your first center line, you just go ahead and pull the bower back and just kind of let her glide in. You pull that back on a heavy tank like that Sundowner, and it'll bop the.
You can feel it lose altitude pretty quick.
Yeah, and it's a little scary. It can be a little scary. So that's the difference.
If you're not
ready.
ready.
You have to be certed in each and every plane because every plane has their own characteristics.
Nice.
But yeah.
So let me run through some stats on it.
Okay.
And then I'll give a quick brief history and let me know if you want to add anything. And then I'll see if I can link some plans if you wanted to build one and try to RC fly one yourself. Maybe I'll build one. Have you designed one?
I have.
By the way,
more like around the Piper Cherokee, but I have.
Okay.
In a easy
for the Easy Pack.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, then we can talk about that in a minute. All right. So it has 4 passengers.
Right.
It's a 32 3/4 of a foot wingspan, 25 3/4 foot length.
Right.
Of course, that happens. And I have an alarm come off in the middle of all the things. Anyway, it is basically 2,500 pound takeoff weight. It's max takeoff weight, and its empty weight is 1,000 pounds less, which that usually means 4 passengers, which is pretty good because it allows a little bit of room for fuel. It has a little under 1,000 pound useful payload, 50 gallons of fuel capacity, which I don't know how far that gets you.
About
so
yeah, it's about 10 gallons per hour burn, depending on where your throttle's at.
Okay, it says a 600 nautical mile range, which is pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That gets you a lot of places pretty quick.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Surface ceiling is just under 1,300 feet, which at that point you need an oxygen tank and 13,000. Sorry,
yep.
1,300 is what I said. At that point you need oxygen if you get too much higher than that.
So yep, 12,500.
And I don't think it's really equipped for it, is it?
Nope. That's you're carrying a buddy bottle or a freaking you're carrying the oxygen enriched environment but
a local breather.
Yep.
Right. It lands at just under 1,500 feet, and I'm sure that obviously that's ideal. I'm guessing 1,484 feet is so you're looking at what, a quarter mile runway, a little bit, a third of a mile runway.
So
minimum, and obviously you're going to want more.
So a short runway, we soft. Yeah, you're sure you're familiar with soft field, short field, and stuff like that. We practice for that. About a 2,000 foot runway.
That's almost every runway.
Well,
short of a local backwoods runway. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's a small. So that's 50 feet wide by about 2,000 feet broad. That's a small runway. That's very.
That's welcome to the field. I'm learning. It's like half a mile.
Right.
I think it's a little bit longer than that, but and it's a 2-lane road.
Right.
It's pretty. Anyway, I figured if I could take off there, I can land anywhere. Let's see. It cruises at 120 knots or just under 120 knots. I'm sure that's ideal. Most of the time, whenever they state those things, it's a little bit less is what most people settle on. And then the max speed is 150 knots.
Right. And that's for structural. That's your red line. That's
at that point you're worrying about ripping off the wings like an old fogey.
Yeah, exactly. That's the real thing. Yeah. You do a stall and something like that,
and it's more that you're going to damage the wing than it's actually going to come straight off. But you got to worry.
You say that. We've all watched Instagram. We all see those videos where the plane flies over and they're doing the baby gender reveal. Have you seen that video?
Oh God, yeah.
Have you seen that video, that crop duster that drops the paint, immediately pulls up and rips the wings off the aircraft?
Right. And I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
The whole thing, I'm like, that's a high G maneuver. That's a fool's errand. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the wings fold because it cannot. It's probably designed for what, 6G max, maybe, but ideally 3. Most GA is 3 to 4, unless it's rated for aerobatics, in which case it's 6.5.
Maybe I just haven't got into that. I just remember steep turns is you're pushing.
Keep it easy.
Yeah, you're pushing 1.5 to 2 Gs at 60 degrees, and that's structural. You're pushing the structure.
Yeah, and then then your instructors are like, "Hey, easy."
Yeah,
easy.
Yeah,
not too hard there.
But
because they don't want to. They're like, "Look, we don't want these wings to get damaged." So, because then you own this airplane, and good luck flying it.
Yep.
It apparently has a Lycoming engine, 0360.
Yep.
I guess A4J. I don't know the differences between the different versions of the Lycoming, but I mean, they're all 360 is a pretty good size engine.
360 cubic inch. It's a flat 4-cylinder, pushes 180 horse. And that's old technology from the 60s, man. The model
it all is.
Yeah, the model I have is a 1976 model. It's all original paint, all original interior. It's in mint condition, but so
nice.
But
yours is right in the middle of the production years. So this is the brief rundown from the AOPA. I can't remember what that stands for right now, but let's see. But what they say is that it's the Beechcraft, Musketeer.
That's the small one.
Why is it called it? That's the small. Okay. It's a family single-engine, low-wing light aircraft that's produced by Beechcraft. It includes the Model 19, the Model 23, Musketeer, the Custom, and Sundowner. The model 23-24, the Super 3 is a retractable gear, and the 24R Sierra is the military, and then there's a military version, CT-134 Musketeer. It was made from 1963 to 1984 for 20 solid years, and almost 4,366 were produced. The type certificate for the Musketeer family of aircraft has been owned by Hawker Beechcraft since 26 March 2007. And in the 1970s, the C-23 version was introduced. It was also named the Musketeer Custom. And in 1972, it was renamed the Sundowner. When properly equipped, the B-23 and C-23 are approved for limited aerobatics, which means you probably do rolls and wide loops.
Not this guy.
I wouldn't suggest it at the same point. A lot of people, I guess, get wowed by the roll, but the roll is a 1G maneuver.
Right.
So it's safe to do in almost every plane. Not that you should. And a lot of people that will get rid of your insurance pretty quick if they caught you doing it.
So there you go. And it's just like so it's just like doing a roll in an RC airplane. You feel it.
Yep.
We talked about that. There's a direct relation. What your visual perspective is your mind's eye will feel it. You'll feel it. That's what
yeah.
And it's just like you see a guy on the ground controlling an RC airplane, and he's like, I feel how it's moving. I feel what it's doing. And it's like your mind's eye is making that connection. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And so, so when you do a roll, it's elevator forward, not elevator back, for that split second, because when you make that roll, if you're still into a pitch for elevator up,
you're going to start to come down.
You're going to go down,
Yeah, because the lift is downward. Thanks.
Correct. So, it's the same. It's, RC airplanes are exactly the same as the only difference, and most people that fly planes real full scale and fly RC airplanes, the number one thing, and I've talked to a bunch of friends and this and that, the number one thing is I wish I had the thrust that an RC airplane has. The
complete overpowering, like, and you can just get out of anything.
Yeah, they take off in 2 feet, and it's just like the thrust, the power to weight ratio in an RC airplane is just monumental in comparison to a real plane. And
6 to 1 on average is what most RC modelers use.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And they're like, whoa, I don't know, it's getting a little close, and you're like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Most real aircraft, it's a 1-to-1 or half to 1.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so, you get back into that, and it's just like the human body. If you were to put that power to weight ratio in a real aircraft, you couldn't handle the G's. That's F-22 stuff. That's that's just you're wearing compression leggings and stuff like that to keep the blood from in your brain. It's just, but the power to and it's kind of funny. We laugh about it, but yeah. So when that's the only thing that I can tell you in a real, and this, you've been in a real airplane, and the power to weight ratio in an RC airplane just supersedes anything in a real, in a real environment.
You don't have to take as much care when doing things in the RC aircrafts typically. So, which actually brings me back to the Easy, because one of the things I think I liked the challenge of when that original Easy pack, which is the old, I think Banggood had like a C-130 or something.
B-17.
And that was like, right. And then they I think FliteTest bought it, upgraded it, and release it as the freighter. Which is an excellent, again, it's a great beginner model. Flies for like 18 minutes on the battery, and you can literally just chill forever. And what a great way to learn, right?
Right.
Because it teaches you the thrust is elevation, right?
Yep.
If you want to go up, you give it more thrust, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do. And not that that's what we learn as RCers typically, because the 6 to 1 thrust ratio changes that need.
Right.
But with this small aircraft, like, you're at the limits, right? Like, these motors aren't crazy powerful, especially in the original one. So you had to really manage the throttle, and you had to be careful, like, what you're putting in and what you weren't, especially if you wanted level flight. And then, limited left and right. so you didn't have to worry about too much else. But it also taught you like coordinated turns and like,
Yep.
It taught you a lot of the basics really well.
Really well.
Because it was stabilized, it didn't make the wind just abuse the snot out of your plane, and you have like no fun because the wind took it.
Right.
You like at least have a fighting shot. In most light wind conditions with this thing. Is that what? Because I know when you came in, they hadn't come out with the V2 yet. I think we're still working on the V1, which is the original kind of lighter, where you had to be very careful about the weight. And was that challenge? Is that what kind of brought you forth? Like, oh man, I need to do stuff with this. Like, what excited you about the Easy Pack? Because I know you started with that because that's where we met in the build tents, doing the STEM stuff for that Easy Pack.
I think we were building,
but like something captured you.
We were building the orbits that day.
Yeah,
took it out and flew it, and it was just like, so. Just like anybody, we have a community of guys. I'm a member of a group of flight clubs here, RC flight clubs, and out of that group, there's probably anywhere between 4 to sometimes 6 or 8 guys we get together during the winter, and we fly in a little gymnasium at an old school. That anyhow, so we get together Saturday night, and we fly, and I'm introducing this orbits, and all these old guys are like, "What the heck?" It's noisy as heck inside that gym. But it's cool seeing that thing, that styrofoam plane fly around. So what got me into it was we did the orbits that day. We came back we went on a Friday or a Saturday, and there was a box of the Venture gliders, and they were $5 a piece, and you got 2 gliders for $5. And and I had bought I grabbed a handful of them. I think I grabbed 3 of them. So they gave me 6 gliders, the Venture. And so I was like, I would like to make this thing fly, and Josh just so happened to be standing there, and he goes, make sure you get the nuts for those because you're going to need the nuts to do your, and I'm like, I'm kind of new to this. And so anyhow, what got me into that was that Venture. It flew okay. And for some reason I ripped the paper off of it. And I found out there was just Depron between that piece of paper. And when I took the paper off of that thing, just stripped it, man, it was a rocket, on those old packs.
Yeah, lightweight is your friend when it comes to aviation.
Power to weight ratio, man. So I introduced that to the guys at the gym, and they're like, "Hey, we got to have one of those. We got to have one of those, man. That thing is it's just banging against the walls, and you just pick it up and you throw it in the air, and it's just, And they're in there just. So what happened was we had our own little combat inside that gymnasium. I'm scratch cutting these things out, and what happened was I started buying packs, and I'm not selling them for profit. I'm selling them to the guys, and I'm like, go on FliteTest and buy them your dang self. And so. It's just too much. These are old guys that don't want to get on the computer. Then I'll buy the pack for you. Just give me whatever, I paid for them. So we're in there beating these Ventures around. And I'm scratch building them. I'm scratch cutting them for.
Is that the FliteTest Venture?
The FliteTest Venture. And it was just a glider.
Keep going.
It was just a glider at the time. And these guys are getting into this thing. And so then... and they're tearing the paper off of them because it's just these things.
Joe, that's the one you first built.
The FliteTest Venture.
Oh, was it really?
That's the one we managed to run into each other in the middle of the night.
Oh, right, that one.
Against all our best odds.
It's a Delta Wing.
Well, no, I'm trying to think. This was that one, the Venture is the Delta Wing. It was more the flat wing, straight wing. I can't remember what that one's called.
We ended up somehow in the middle of the night flying with the V2
packs,
easy packs, and both of us just cutting circles and trying to get in formation with each other. And both of us seeing our lights going towards each other. It's like, these are tiny little planes. We're way out there. Ain't no way. Smack. Couldn't have done it if we were trying.
And that was our reaction. We just busted up laughing. And then we realized one of ours, our lights went out, and we're like, oh no, that's going to be a hard time to find it. That's all right.
So
Yeah, no, it was, I'll see if I can find the name of the kit that we had, but it was the straight wing version.
So
It kind of came in that group, I think.
so that's what I realized, when I got into this, and I'm at that STEM tent that day, and Trevor's teaching that class, and I think I'd met you, and we were crossing paths that day, and
Yeah.
and it was just like, let's go back. They're gonna build the plank. I got to build the plank. And the crazy thing is the girl that I was dating at the time, she goes, "Aren't these planes for kids?" And I'm like,
Like, get out of here. Like you're not a
what,
kid.
what are men but kids with expensive toys?
right, grown ass men playing with these toys and just laughing our ass off, And the same thing when I mean, these are 60 and 70-year-old guys that are just retired, and they're getting away from their wives for the evening, and they're gonna go hang out with the guys and get out of the house, and we're beating the hell out of these planes inside that gymnasium, and they're just laughing their ass off. We're setting up little obstacles, see who can fly underneath the table. And these are cheap, $20, And so Travis,
right.
I just got sick and tired of cutting them by hand for him. I bought a freaking laser.
Okay, so that's where the trouble began.
That's where the trouble began. So I copied that pattern, and I through sign and what I do and I got signed packages and signed CAD programs because I've got vinyl machines and this and that and the other. I'm very familiar with 2D and 3D CAD. I've got my own 3D printers and stuff like that. I just threw that thing in a vector image, copied it, and I'm playing with it and putting an easy pack on it, and I'm just cutting these planes for my buddies, and I'm buying packs and buying packs and buying packs. Introduced it to a flight club. One of the guys is like, "Why don't you come out to flight club? Let's introduce these to kids." And so I'm just cutting them. And the flight club's like, "How much do you need?" I was like, "For what?" For foam. I was like, "Just pay for the foam more. I'll just cut them." Man, I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this for the love of the hobby. And so by this time, I'm buying boxes of these old gray packs from FliteTest. And I'm not.
And you're talking about like the freighters, right?
No, the actual Easy Pack, the gray pack.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, and the first generation of it, I'm buying boxes of them, and it just I'm not making money off it. That's not what it's for. It's just that I have easy access to it, and I'll do it. I'm cutting the planes for everybody. The flight clubs, they cut me a check for $100. Well, dude, that bought me 100 sheets of freaking foam board. So I'm just and I could get
200 planes ready to go.
There you go. I could get 2 planes out of a 20 by 30 sheet of foam board on that laser cutter. So I'm cutting them by stacks. And one day I was just screwing around. I took some vinyl and I started making graphics out of it. And I'm sticking the vinyl on it. And it's just like so. In the automotive art industry, I've spent 20 years. After I got laid off, I was explaining to you how I used to be an electrician. Took a layoff, and I had to do something. I started painting Harley Davidsons for a living, and I started a business, custom painting motorcycles, and that's what I'm an artist. I explained to you kind of how everything to me is through an artistic look. So in the automotive world, we lay down a color of paint. We'll take tape, and we'll lay down graphics and designs on that color of paint. We'll paint a secondary color, and we'll peel the tape back. And that leaves our existing color, our first color. I'm applying the same principle to these new planes with graphics, and I'm just baking the graphics in the print, not really thinking that it's going to lose weight. I'm just worried about adding graphics to these planes. So like I had that original Venture, and it's on the forum as a build. I threw it on there, and it's got red graphics on it. I thought, you know what? I'm seeing, why can't we were painting this paper? So I'm thinking, okay, so paint the paper, and if I peel off, I hand cut it. If I peel off the paper, it's going to leave the white foam. Just like in the automotive, it's going to leave the white foam as a graphic. I'm like, oh, wait, I'm onto something here. So I'm hand cutting designs and graphics and scallops out of that Venture, and I'm laying it all out, transfer that image over, drop the power in the laser, and I can just cut through the paper,
Right. Just a one layer of paper.
Just the top
leaving
layer
the foam
that
intact, more or less.
Right. So it's just like it's a series of madness that just left into, now I'm baking the graphics right into the cut. And it's just
Yeah.
I'm painting the phone board before I do that, run it at a low power first, cut all the graphics, then come back at a higher power, cut the plane out, peel the paper off, and now I have whatever color plus the white foam board underneath. So that's where it kind of started, because going back to automotive art industry, that's like I said, you lay down a first color, lay down some tape, lay out your graphics, lay down a secondary color, peel off your tape, you get your graphics, instant graphics, right? So
yeah, perfect.
that's where it started. Then I realized that I'm lightening the plane, and I still get graphics, and I'm lightening the plane. There's a mediocre factor in there, a little bit of give and take, and so then it's on. So I just take that same simple design with a venture, and I probably cut 400 or 500 of those planes over the past couple of years, and just giving them out. And it's just that venture. I changed it a little bit, and I added the graphics, and the kids are just digging it. Oh, I peeled the graphics off, and I'm seeing these at our little local flight club, and some mom and dads are buying the pack, right there. And that's the reason I bought the packs is that you can buy the pack right here. I'm not going to charge you a dollar more than what I paid for it. I just want the kid to have a good experience. So Grandpa and Grandma, here's the crazy thing. And I just talked in this discussion about it with Josh. We sat down one day in the STEM tent or wherever it was. We were sitting at the picnic table, and it was Trevor and Josh and I. And Josh, finally got a break. And I was telling him, I said, the connection that I see with kids and their grandparents, Grandpa and Grandma coming out, going to the flight field, taking the grandkids for the day because mom and dad got shit to do. I have had grandparents come up and literally give me a hug and say, you have given me time with my grandkids that this is amazing. I
didn't think I'd ever get.
Yeah.
Not that kind of genuine, the genuine connection. Right? Because like most of the time with the kids, like especially lately, nowadays where it's all electronics, right? So there's no interaction between, it's tough to get grandparents to interact.
Correct.
Via electronics, right? Like they're from a different generation.
They're from books and
that didn't even exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all down on the paper. So for them, that's a way to them, the two of them, to connect and really genuinely, have a shared experience, which is really tough to get.
It's really tough because that's a huge generational gap. There could be 2 or 3 generations between their grandparents and their grandkids. And I'm seeing, I've seen grandparents get emotional, because, and it's just like, they come back for more. Hey, can we build another plane? Absolutely. The flight club paid for the foam board. Absolutely. How many do you want to build here? 1/4 nuts are cheap through Fastenal, and they're building either a glider. And then the next step is we're building them as an easy plane and the way they are intended to be. And that connection is made. And so with that being said, back to the gymnasium one winter, I'm kind of designing my own planes. What I mean by design, I am not an engineer. I'm just an artist looking at a plane going, that looks cool. I think I would, and I'm taking pictures of planes. I'm throwing them up in the freaking CAD program. And I'm like, man, that would be cool to make an easy plane. And I play with it a couple times and I get it to fly and I move around in the print and this and that, and I'll print it and, or cut it and build it. And so I built a plane called the J9er, and it was just something that I came across, and I modified it. And that's the plane that we debuted this year at STEM as one of the Gremlin Works secret planes. Yeah. So a whole new development came out of this. It's got graphics built into it. And Josh got it in his hands, and he told me, he goes, man, there's just something about it. And the subject got on, and Trevor goes, why do you call it the J9er? Just curious. I said, I was looking for a jet. So there's the J. And it took me 9 times to get the dang thing to fly. And I said, so it's like WD-40, you know, it took 40 times to get it right, the formula right. So it took me 9.
Yeah, perfect.
That's a J9er. And it was just, that thing just, man, it's just, and Josh was like, dude, I got nothing. That thing just flies amazing. How do you, I'm not an engineer. I just play with it, you know, and it's just for it. So with that being said, I came out with a J9er and I'm like, hey guys, here's a bunch of these planes, try them. In that group is a guy that is a absolute drone guy. He's an FPV. He's flying these little drones around and he's like, what is this? What is this? He shows up the next night with an Inductrix at E-Flite. You guys familiar with E-Flite? It's an Inductrix.
Oh, yeah.
And he
Inductrix is a bigger, well, actually a more established version of something
like that.
It's very small scale.
Yep. So they have their own props. And their props are on the Inductrix E-Flite plane. So this guy, I'm not kidding you, took the gray props off, threw those in the trash, and put the Inductrix props on. Oh, it was like a turbocharged. It turbocharged that plane. I mean, that thing was like, I'll be honest with you, that Venture was like a pissed off bee. And that J9, it was, and it quieted the plane down. And I mean, this guy was good. Just a hell of a remote control pilot.
So when I look at that, I always worry that prop is going to cause the motor to pull to draw too much energy to overheat some of the circuitry. Because I know that board, it's kind of at its limit, you know?
Not really.
There's not a lot of extra room is what I got.
That's what I thought too. And he put those Inductrix props on it. And he put the Inductrix props on the J9er, and he's switching back and forth. He is lapping us. I mean, like to 2 laps to R1. And it's just, he's zinging those planes around that gymnasium. And he's dodging the basketball goals. I'm just like, give me some of those props. He goes, well, I got a couple left. And he said, man, there's my replacement props. I was like, well, where'd he get them at? And he gave me the thing. I came home and I looked them up. I bought 15 packs. And
right. I'm about to do that myself right now.
So the number, so that everybody has it for E-Flite, it's an E-Flite number. It's an EFLP 60205.
60205.
So
it's like it's an 2.5 millimeter.
It's a 60 millimeter by 2.5 millimeter prop set, clockwise and counterclockwise, 4 props.
Okay.
So, I mean, that was what we was putting on the old packs. Okay. So next year, I mean, spent the whole winter. This guy is just lapping us, and he's winning. It's like we're laying down money, and it's just like we're having a good time, and we're laughing our ass off. A bunch of old guys just. I'm probably the youngest one in there, and we're laughing our ass off of it. This guy is just it. I mean, those planes became into pissed off bees, and I mean, it's just like so everybody.
And yet quieter.
They get
which
quieter.
Means the prop is more efficient.
It's balanced. You know what I mean? And these were on the old gray packs, and I mean, it's turbocharging those planes. So next flight test, talked to Josh. I was like, I hand him one of those props. I handed him a package of it. I was like, look, he goes, what's this? And I told him, he goes, you're kidding me. So anyhow, he must have played with him. And then I went to order some more packs, the V1 packs, the first generation, because I'm running out for the flight for the guys that wanted to buy them and this and that and the other. And they came in, they said, well, I can't get no more packs. And I was like, well, let me call Josh. And he goes, man, I got like 15 of them left. I said, I'll take them all. So I bought 15 of those packs. Gave them out to the guys, and he said, we're out. Jen said, we're out. There's no more packs left. We don't know what we're going to do. Flight Fest is coming up soon. We don't know what we're going to do. And so I think he was on the work. He knew that the packs were coming to a limit. I don't know if and that's none of my business, how they run their operations. But so they came out with a V1, and he told me that next year at Flight Fest, he goes, I tried to get a mold for those props. And he said it was going to be incredible to get a mold made to that prop. He goes, but yeah, you're right. That there's something about that prop. So when he came up with a V2, more power, a little bit bigger motor.
Yep.
A little bit bigger prop.
It's like a 80-20 or a 70-20 instead of a 60,
something like
612 or something.
It's visually, you can't really tell the difference unless you really
No, but it's a little bit bigger. It's like a millimeter bigger.
Yeah, and he understands all that, what RPM it spins at versus the prop and all that stuff. And he said, I'm pushing the limits of these boards, and he said, but I think they're like up to a full 5 amps is what they can handle. And
okay.
And I was just like, holy smokes, that's a lot. And he goes, I know that's a lot. So he put together the V2 package based on what he experienced, I think. Don't quote me on that. When he put those Inductrix E-Flite props on that old, and what it did for that.
Man, that opens it up, though.
That opens it up. That opens up the window to a heavier plane. That opens up the window to a faster plane.
Bigger.
Right?
I mean, you saw the flying wing. That was on like the smallest of the small with the stinkiest of prop.
Yep.
And I'm doing this walk behind glider that
I remember that.
Just barely floating through the sky.
Right.
And it's fun. This is the one Joe's like, I wouldn't fly that in the neighborhood. I'm like,
it'll be fine.
It'll probably be okay until I get in a neighbor's roof, It'll be fine.
But
like having, because what I wanted to do was build like a big one that like a kid can see easy.
Right.
Because that's the other thing is these things, they're little. So when they go to the end of the runway, right, and they're trying to turn it around, like it's now pretty darn small. It's really kind of hard to see. Yeah, see what way. Like, so if I could make a bigger plane that goes slower, it gives you more time to control it, gives you more time. It's easier to see. And, well, it's not like super fun, right?
Right.
Because it's not going super fast or anything, but it does have a kind of its own kind of fun, right? Especially if you're trying to have like dumb races with like, we'll call pylon races with the slowest plane you could find, right? You're having a good time. Plus I was also imagining that if I could get it to turn fast enough, it could be a good indoor, like in the winter gym experience, right? Depending on the gym you have, right?
Right.
And I remember you said you checked it out and you had tried to build one or two of those. I don't know, did you get a chance to build it?
I did. I got about halfway through it, and then life takes over, and it's just like, God dang it, it's just like, how many?
You saw my room.
Yeah, it's just right? I got 2 rooms upstairs that they're just full of planes that are half built. It's just like,
I don't know that.
You know that feeling, and it's just like, man, I got to get back to that plane. And then here it comes FliteTest, and I ain't got nothing to fly, or here it's going to come up on this winter, and just the guys hit me just the other day. Hey, we're going to go to the park, and we're going to freaking fly today. And I'm like, I ain't got nothing to fly, and
right. And you're like, dude, you have like 100 planes in your house.
I know.
How do you have nothing to fly?
It's like, well, I got a laser cutter. I can print one off at any time, and it's just like, I still don't have nothing to fly, but yeah. So
you need to have a small rack, or like I had a bunch of hangers for plants.
Right.
And I took coat hooks and that's how I would hang them. And they just kind of be hanging almost like static models. And that's my go-to. Like, okay, when they're ready, they hang. And then when I want to go, I just grab one of the handful that are kind of hanging.
I never thought of the plant hangers. That's a good idea.
Yeah, because I mean, I had it for plants, but then, my house became my hanger. And so I was like, well, I don't need plants. Like they weren't growing well.
Right.
And I'm like, but my planes can hang there. That sounds like a pretty good plan.
But you, Joe, you got a bunch of planes hanging around your house?
At one time I did, but not so much anymore. What with the move, there's the FT Edge sitting back there. That could still fly. I got to do some hangar maintenance where a control horn, or yes, it's the control horn. I think that the servo actuates. That's what sits on the crease line of your control surface.
Yeah, it's a right.
See how long I've been out of it?
We'll fix that.
And I've got now. I actually got 2 A10 Warthog kits downstairs, and my father-in-law's Corsair Master Series that he never built. So, and I've built the Corsair before.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. So when you say static plane, it really is a static plane because it's still folded up, and it's sitting there statically collecting a lot of dust. That's
Wait, he and I are fixing to find a way to fix that.
yeah.
For both of us.
It's a fun thing to talk about, but it's a sad thing in the same sense. But yeah, it's just
it's the nature of a hobby. Like, when you have time for it, you get to go full tilt.
Right.
And then when if something has to give, it's one of the first things to be put on hold for a moment. And that's okay. We talk like we're like, geez, I can't do this podcast this week because I didn't do anything. I'm like, yeah, but that's the hobby.
Right.
Like, that's okay. Like, that's part of the hobby. As much as it stinks sometimes, it's like, oh, life happens. And it should be, if you're new to the hobby, I wanted to make sure everybody understood, like, that's part of the hobby. Sometimes you kind of have to go out of it, but it doesn't mean you don't stop listening to a podcast that inspires you to want to come back.
Right.
Or like, go check out the new video that somebody dropped and you're like, man, I can't wait to get back in. Like, it's okay to not be able to.
Right.
Just, don't lose the passion for it if you have it. Right.
Right. And I think that's why FliteFest is so important to so many people and so many of us that are in the hobby, because it's like, it kind of just gears you up. It's like, it's the middle of I don't want to say the middle of the summer, more like the beginning, but it just brings that inspiration back. Just those few days that you're at FliteFest, and if you make it and go and it's just, it brings that inspiration back. It brings that drive back. And it's just like here we are sitting here talking about on a podcast about, the new planes and the easy planes and all this stuff. And it's just,
right.
Yeah. But, so.
Well, I mean, but when we look at it, like when these things evolve and people are like, the reason why they evolve is because people are like, I see the potential here. There's what's beautiful, I think, and this is, why Joe and I think bought a bunch of the easy kits when we were like, wait a second, we need to get one for my this person and this person.
There you go.
Well, one, they're inexpensive. They're a great way to get started.
Right.
They teach them the right things. Like, those are already 3 wins right there.
Right.
But they're small, so they don't take up much room. You don't have to invest like a whole wing of your house or whatever the heck like a whole closet or whatever you're doing.
Right.
Like, it doesn't take much room. You can put it in your car every time you go somewhere. It doesn't take much to charge. And like, it's just simple. And if that's all you're doing and enjoying the RC hobby, but like, no, it's like, well, wait, if we put bigger motors or we change these props, it changes the flight. Like, wait a second, this opens up what you can do with it. And we were talking about alternatives to Dollar Tree foam board as build material for this scale plane. Like, I was telling Joe and I was telling you that, like, in the past, I've built a P-38 out of foam plates. Like, I literally shrunk down a plan set, full scale, like the FliteTest plan set,
right,
that somebody had done, like that style. And then I just cut it out of the foam plates. I scaled it down to 8.5 by 11 because I'm like, oh, that's about right, size wise. Let's see if it'll go. And then, like, the only thing I didn't get at the time, and it took me a moment to figure out, was that the board orientation is critical. And depending on, and there's a couple different planes like that out there, and some of them have horizontal boards, some have vertical, but it doesn't. The fact is like, once you know what it is, like, okay, cool, I got to keep the same orientation of what the original plane had, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. And then once you have that, it's a little weird for the glue, because you have to use like a different glue, because that's a styrofoam and it's not a PVC based foam, right? So it's a little bit different. So you have to be a little bit careful, and you can use tape, but
because
a lot of tape adds a lot of weight.
Yeah.
So you got to be real careful. And then the interesting thing about foam plates is it has like a skin on one side.
Yep.
And it doesn't on the other. So you can kind of curl it one way and you can't curl it the other. But it also brings new challenges and new interests. Like, wait, I can do different things with this. And that's what I love about FliteTest is like when people started to discover, like, wait, if I do this to this medium, I change what I can do with it. And now it opens up new doors.
Correct.
Right. And just like with the Easy Pack, it's like, it's a different kind of challenge. Like, well, the original one was limited to 52 grams, period. Unless you had a really good lift. And even then, if you did, you chances are had so much drag, it barely did anything, right?
Right.
You really had to keep it at about that weight and be reasonable with what you're doing. Otherwise, it really wouldn't fly well at all.
Right.
If you got it to fly. And then it's like, okay, with the new Easy Pack or with the new props, Like, okay, now I can do a little bit more with it. And so if you kind of keep combining and make it bigger and bigger, it's like, okay, now I've opened up the ideas of what I can make possible. And if you watch Silver Surfer FPV, have you ever seen that guy?
I can't say I have.
You really have to go check him out.
I would.
I'll see if I can send you a link in a little bit.
Okay.
But he just builds like little stupid, it's Depron, I think, is what he uses, like 1mm Depron or something.
Right.
And he just molds whatever nonsense, and he just and they're usually like tubby scale, like the cartoon scale stuff, so he kind of shrinks it down so it looks goofy because it's already kind of a goofy scale to begin with.
Okay.
And he flies around his park, and it's ridiculous. It's great. I mean, he really brings a lot to that easy pack, And then of course you got the guys who are like rasterized, and there's a couple other guys. I've done some of the challenges with Agent C on the flight test forums, and they're like, well, I'm going to make a Bronco, but I'm not going to make a Bronco. Like, I'm going to make a Bronco with a skin, and it's going to look just like a Bronco because it already has that kind of flat profile look. And the original, I think it's the 0810. I don't even remember what it's the nomenclature for the Bronco.
Yeah.
Or the Mosquito. I think that's what it was, the Mosquito. But like each of them has their own little thing, and he's like, this is what he had family members that flew it, and it's just his like, I love this plane, and so he's inspired to make as many variants and versions of it, and he did a great job with the skins. I was like, man, I need to build a bunch of these. He did one for the Coast Guard, one for the military, one for, the civilian, you know what I mean? Like he kept changing it up and having a great time with it. I'm like, dude, that's it. That's what I want to see more of.
So that's
so inspiring.
It's funny you say the profile planes because it seemed like that's been the main forte or the main, what are you going to say? How we build easy planes is
the style for easy is a profiler, but like that plane itself is like a, what's the helicopter that's like real thin? Gosh, the Comanche? No, Apache. It's like 2-seater back to back, stacked on top of each other a little bit. And it's real thin.
Would you say, Joe?
I think he said the Comanche.
I think it is an Apache or a Comanche or something like that.
It's one of those two, and they're both. They're actually.
Let me look it up because the Apache. I want to say it might be.
I feel like the Apache was the earlier
about
version.
It. Let's see.
I thought the Apache was side by side.
Yes, I'm thinking more about it. Apache helicopter.
But either way, like when you look at the helicopter from front on, there's like no profile. There's nothing there, right? And that's exactly like, it's like if you made that a twin tractor.
Yeah.
Like you put a wing on it and made it a twin tractor. That's what that plane is. The OV-10 Bronco or whatever it is. Like, or the I can't keep getting them confused.
Right.
But like that's the plane, and everybody's gonna be shouting into their their headset, going like,
"No,
dang it, Matt!"
Well, the Apache is a pilot, co-pilot, or front back.
Yeah.
As is the Comanche. The Comanche might be what you're thinking because it's sleeker. The Apache has all the armament add-ons.
I mean, they're both still pretty sleek profile. As far as the main cockpit, like the fuselage section of it is like real sleek. So it looks very much like a profile already. Right. So when he's making this plane, like he's scaling it down in the easy pack, like it looks just like that normally.
Right.
When you look at the original bird, I remember seeing it at an air show and I was like, oh, wow, that's a really cool looking
So the
design,
the
right?
fuselage is so thin it looks like it's a profile plane.
Yeah, pretty much, right. So when the thickness is of 3 foam boards, which is what you make your main thing is, that's about as thick as it is relative to the profile. So when he did it,
it's accurate.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. So he skinned it, and it like, oh my god, that looks so good. And he's got this little guy like flying around, and he made a bunch of different skins for it so that he could livery it up however he wanted. And it's inspiring. And that's the kind of thing that I love. Like when I see people go, wait a second, this opens up the door to do something I didn't think was even possible.
Correct.
Let me push this and see what I could do.
So earlier today, as I was getting ready for this, I sent you the G3
Yep.
to share with everybody those plans.
Yeah, and if you are a listener, hold on, let me pause for a second. If you're a listener and you haven't joined our Discord, we would love for you to join our Discord because in there is a channel, and of course now I can't find a file share channel, and in there you will find the G3 glider, And that is actually a scale model, right?
It is a scale model. So how that came about is that FlutOg, it was in 2023, FliteTest put out the FlutOg challenge. And I just happened to be texting Josh one day, and he's like, "Hey man, you gonna enter the FlutOg?" And I was like, "What?"
Where do they post all those anyway?
The FlutOg, they post them in the articles. And so you go to the forum or the homepage, and it's in the articles section. And
I think that's where I missed it. I've got it. We'll put a link in for that, for your article that you wrote up.
Yeah. And so in the middle of that, so for those, anyhow, that's how it kind of got started with that G3 glider. And I'm looking for something new. We're always looking for something new planes, new plans, everybody's looking for
new ideas.
Yeah. So I'm just like, man, I gotta figure out a way to get a full bodied easy plane. Not that I'm sick of the profile plane, but there's just got to be more. I want a full-bodied plane. So
I want a scale version of this, right?
Yeah, this is in late 2022, 2023, beginning of mid 2023. And Josh mentioned the FlutOg challenge. Hey, just enter something, So I went. Of course, again, I was dating the girl in Cleveland. And we drove down to the Dayton, Ohio, to the Air Force Museum down there. Have you ever been to that Air Force Museum down there in Dayton, Ohio?
No. Not in Dayton. We went to the Maps Air Museum, which is
down the street
from. Yeah. They have a really impressive collection of planes there. But yeah, no, I didn't get a chance to get where you were. But now if I do the trip I just did, or I go visit my folks in Kentucky, I'll make sure that that's one of the stops on the way out.
So I'm gonna forewarn you and everybody that's listening that has not been to that museum, plan on 2 days.
It's that good, huh?
It's I've been to it 3 times now. It's just this last time was just before I left Kansas. I drove to Dayton, spent the night in the hotel right across the street from the museum. There's a Comfort Inn right across the street. And then I spent the whole day in there before I drove on up to FliteFest to meet Trevor. And that was on the 17th. And then I spent the 18th and FliteFest officially started on the 19th. But so anyhow, I'm walking through that, keeping in my mind the FlutOg challenge because they have historical planes. So the FlutOg is, we've all seen it, the Red Bull FlutOg challenge where you push a passenger off and it glides. And how far can you go?
It's a passenger pushed.
Yes. Yep. So
it's a person driven airplane.
Correct.
That's what it is.
Correct. So you go into the first wing of that that Air Force Aeronautical Museum, and that's what it's about. You're seeing pusher FlutOg type style planes, with the first flyers, the very first gliders before the Wright brothers. Clear over in England, I think some guy like flew
in Germany.
Yeah, so
England and Germany both had really strong programs for that.
Correct. So I've been there once before, and so I went back and I found that G3 glider, and what that G3 glider was it was a bombing for the 20s, during and after the World War One, the biplanes and the triplanes and stuff like that. They would take the plane up. And I read all the articles, and it's all in the museum. You can read it. And they would drop that airplane out of that little glider, and it would kind of fall to the ground and do its own thing. However, the wind caught it is where there was no control. So you're learning how to dogfight against this glider and shoot it down. And so I'm looking at that, and it's just a wedge. It's just a wedge with a set of wings and a freaking horizontal stabilizer on it. And I'm thinking this could be something. So came home, drew up the plans, very, very simple.
It's a triangular fuselage, which I think was interesting. I think we talked about it a while back too.
Yep. Because
about as an idea for how do we simplify this? How do we create a stronger, more durable thing maybe?
Yep. And that's what it is. And they can add nose weight, or they can take off nose weight. They can make it fall to the ground faster. And it's just like you see it in those pictures in that article that I posted on the FlutOg challenge. And that's the reason I'm not going to do anything more with it. it served its purpose. But it's kind of a fun, very agile plane when hooked up to the new V2 pack. Plus, it's a full-bodied plane. It's not just a profile plane. So for those that want to try it, it's out there, free plan. Everybody likes free plans. So I just thought I'd share that a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I'm just anytime.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. But so what I've noticed this year with the F-22 that Josh has produced as an easy F-22, it's their version of their first version of a full-bodied airplane. It flies amazing. It flies really good.
Yeah,
it does. And so it's like we talked earlier. It's like, what's the next step? What's the next thing to come out? So, being with that STEM tent and working with Trevor and this and that and the other, we talked about it, and he goes, "Do you have any ideas?" And I said, "I do, man. I really do have some ideas." And we came up with that Gremlin Works. We came up with introducing new planes. And this is something that Trevor and I are going to try to do every year, is the Gremlin Works top secret planes. And Josh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Josh.
That was a fun kind of like just play like a secret spy.
Yeah.
Trying not to reveal a plan, this thing that nobody should see, and then you get the chance to be the first ones to build it. Which, I mean, I don't know how entirely true that is, but it was a fun way to introduce, especially because what I found is in the STEM tents after a day or two, most of the people in there are either brand new to RC or their families,
right?
Or I mean, which is both maybe,
right?
And it was a great way to kind of get people interested in the mystery of what they're about to build,
right? And it's so we laid out those sheets every morning, and we would lay out, I don't know, 8 or 9 or 10. We had Trevor and I kind of went through some scheduling and stuff like that. How can we fit this in? How can we fit that in? We got to fit this in, and those secret sheets, the secret plane for the day, and it was just 2 days. I think it was Friday and Saturday. Those sheets filled up immediately. I don't. We try to keep it to 30 students, and then there was a little reserve spots. Those people were just writing a name in, in case somebody doesn't show up. What is it we're going to build? I was like, I don't know. It's a surprise. And those were the first sheets to fill up. And
yeah.
I don't know if it's the lure of you don't know. Is it, and so that's.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't that the mystery? Was it J.J. Abrams?
I think
he's like, I tell the mystery box story.
Correct.
It's a mystery. It's a question mark in the box. And the whole point is you don't know. And as long as you don't know, you'll keep coming back for more.
Correct.
And that's why he makes such enticing and interesting shows that people want to see. Like Lost, for example, way back in the day. Like people were crazy about it.
Right.
Because it was the unknown. Like what's going to happen now? Every time you open up the box, there's another one that's a mystery box.
It's a sense of
And he remembers like going to the magic store, and he'd always be like, man, I want that mystery box. He didn't want any of the other right magic tricks or whatever that you could buy and learn. Yeah. He's like, but I want that mystery box. I just don't know
what's in it.
What's in there? I need to know.
Yep.
And it's that drive,
that lure,
that has propelled his career. But that's exactly the same drive that's kind of pulling all those people in.
It was crazy. Yeah. It was, and Trevor and I that first morning, and they were like, "What's the top secret plane?" And Trevor's like, "I have no idea." And I mean, that thing filled up quick. And the next one to go was the F-22. And it was just like, we're looking at each other and we're like, we might be onto something here. And
I think, yeah, having one every day is, I think, critical.
Just a new plane. And it's not something that I designed. It's just a community thing. It just happened to be that these two planes were the J9er for me. And this all got approved for Josh. And I mean, because it is his company, and so rightfully so. And then the other one was through Dan Spalls.
Dan Spalls.
Yeah.
Yeah, he helped us build the Wonder, the Aviation RC Noob Wonder, which we made into, like, every year we kind of made sort of a thing out of it. I tried to make it fly this year, and I just had no success. But actually, well, we won't get into that's a separate conversation that Joe hasn't even heard about. But But that's like our signature thing. Like he and I, well, the three of us really sat down and worked out what that design should look like.
Right.
Had like the wings from our logo, put it as the fins in the back, and like there's that racer kind of,
Yep.
I don't know, outside panel to it.
Yep.
And it has that look. And the Wonder fly, everybody loves the Wonder when they fly. They're like, oh, that's great. And so it was just a way to make it. And he goes, dude, there were like 3 or 4. Like when you bought it, the kit, the original Wonder, Sig Wonder, it came with 3 different designs.
Right.
Like you'd be the German one or the U.S. Air Force or the whatever. And it wasn't anything but like wingtips.
Right.
You know, like, and the side panels in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, so yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. That sounds like fun. And so that has been, and working with him, I can see like, yeah, they did, you know, he's just been such a great asset to FliteTest and being able to help them build quality plans that people can really follow simply. Because he brought his drafting, you know, the drafting, like, oh no, we do it this way. We're going to show you what all the things are, and it's all on the same sheet.
Right.
You should never have to ask a question after you get this. Somebody should be able to take this thing and go build it based on just some basic information that's on that sheet already.
Yeah, let's don't overcomplicate the wheel.
Right. And then like, yeah, you have the build videos, and those are like for if there really is a question, you can kind of like see what he's doing. It's like, oh, okay, that I wasn't sure if it was full left or right, but like that, I think that really lent to some of the success, just by being so simple. I mean, obviously Josh and them put together the first couple, and they did a great job. It brought everybody in. But I think Spawn's really kind of made it even more accessible.
So that's the first
time. by doing those things to the plans. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first time I had met that guy. Just a super great dude. Just
he's amazing.
He's amazing dude. Just as you know. But yeah,
he fits in with the FliteTest team.
Right. He does.
In his kind of demeanor and approach.
Right.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, just a great down to earth guy. And yes, so he introduced a plane this year, and I introduced a plane this year. And Josh has always kind of said, I'm open for new planes all the time, you know?
Yeah.
So it's something I hope that we can continue on in the STEM tent, and it's called Gremlin Works. And I don't know, Trevor and I talked about it a couple times since on text, and it's something we're kind of really looking forward to because it's something different.
Nice.
It's so it gives people of a community, you know, and the way that the J9er came about through it getting introduced was Trevor. I sent Trevor the plane, and he's like, man, this thing is way cool. And
yeah.
He just, you know, and I've sent him several different planes that I've tried because, you know, he's just a great dude. You know, I've given you planes, Matt, that, you know, it's just like,
yeah. You regret it every time.
No,
I'm kidding.
I don't regret a dang thing of it because it's inspiring.
No, you gave me the Cortada.
Yeah.
And I had a chance to fly that. That's a lot of fun. I love the way it looks. I mean, most of your planes, like I guess it's the simplicity and effectiveness of the design of like most real planes, right?
Right.
Like it's just some basic shapes and some lines on there that really kind of lend to like, look how fast it is.
Yep.
You know, the reason why you put pinstripes on a car, like, it's because it makes it look faster. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes, yeah, exactly. It's all about and that's just the artistic side coming out in me. But
yeah, it works out good though.
Yeah, it works out absolutely amazing. But anyhow, yeah, so that's most of those planes that are on that YouTube channel that I just kind of created. And I didn't create.
We'll share a link to. It's called Class G.
Class G.
Right, and it's so we'll share a link in the bottom. Please go check it out. I think it'll really kind of hit home what we're all talking about, and I think you'll be impressed.
So what people are going to want to know is where can I get the plans for those and this and that and the other.
Yep.
So as of right now, I can't do anything with those plans because they're promised to FliteTest. If they want to use them, they can use them. If not, it's and that's just a little, you know, it's just a little thing between Josh and I. Josh and I have built a pretty damn good friendship. I got the chance to paint that B-17 for him. And that was kind of a weird deal, man. I just I came up that week and I take that back. I think I was listening to his podcast, and he said
right.
he was looking because he was trying to really just set the bar really high on something.
Yeah, he had a lot of he had the ideas we do, are grandiose. Like we're going to do all the things, and they usually come a heck of a lot closer to actually realizing those goals than I think a lot of the rest of us.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, oh man, if he's saying it, we might actually see that. And I think he did a really good job of getting as close as reasonable. You know what I mean? And I think when he was looking at some of the things he wanted to do, I think he was like, well, I got to focus on other things. Like, I wish I had help in some of these areas.
I remember listening to that podcast because he was talking about debuting and the progress of that B-17. They were leading you up that, that anticipation of what's it going to be and what's it going to look like and this and that and the other. And it's just like those secret planes. It draws interest. And I remember listening, I was airbrushing on some motorcycle parts in my basement because that's where my studio is. And I remember listening to the podcast that day, or maybe it was something on YouTube or anything. So I sent him a text. I said, hey man, because he was looking for a painter. I want to get past, and I think I remember him saying, I want to get past the rattle cans. I want to get a professional paint job on this and I think he's got a lot of money in that dang plane. But, and I think he wanted to be a professional, you know what I mean? Professional. And I sent him a text. I was like, man, I'll take care of that for you. And I don't know if it was just a few hours later, and he sent me a text back and he goes, I never thought of that. Would you be interested? And I was like, heck yeah. So,
yeah. Do you have a couple quick maybe tips you want to share? I mean, I know you shared a bunch in that video, a couple quick ones. Like if you got rattle can, spray it into a little thing, and you can use that with a little brush. You don't need to spray a whole thing. You can do some detail work with it.
Yeah,
with the same paint,
That's what we used. That was kind of half the reason that I went up there to do that and he asked me if that was cool, and I was like, absolutely, man. Techniques and stuff that we can use to paint your own plane. So those are things that I learned over the years of just self-taught. Like with the paddle paint stick, draining your paint can into the cup to use through an airbrush or use with a brush. And that's the whole thing, man. Just try whatever works. If I've been those guys that have been actually, the paint is still in the can, but there's no pressure. And I've been a guy that has like poked a hole in it and goes everywhere. It goes all over me, and now I'm part of the project. But it's just I just try it all. Just try anything, and I've learned so much from that. And it's little tips like we talked about. That's how I stumbled on to laser cutting the graphics into the airplane, was just remembering what it's like to lay down that first color, lay the tape, and then peel it back. So
right. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is really impactful. Even though it's just two colors, really.
Even though it's just two colors, and it's how can you lay those graphics out to make it look cool. And then the other benefit is that you lose the weight of the plane, or increase or lose weight on the plane is what I want to say. But anyhow,
there's one thing I want to ask real quick, since you're talking about removing material. And I fully recognize that results in some very sharp edges. Depending on the graphic that you're going for, you're removing a fair amount of material. Now, I know we're also talking about the easy size planes, but if you're going to bring this to a larger plane build, what are your concerns with having removed structural strength? If you're taking off the outer edge paper, especially on a wing or right up against the fuselage, what are your thoughts?
Or does it still have an effect like that in the easy size too?
No, he's talking about more like a.
Yeah, he's talking about full scale.
But full scale. But even, I mean, it may be a concern with easy. I'm assuming it's probably not, given the size and the weight of the easies. But if I'm thinking about taking this concept and trying to do it on a larger plane, right, I start to worry about structural integrity.
So, I can't answer that because I have not put it on a bigger plane. And, to our listeners, try it. See what happens. Now, I will say this. When you remove the paper everybody kind of notices they remove the paper to a certain point, and that foam board bends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's the only concern that I think I would have with it, because some of those planes that Josh has designed has a spar in the wing, or you fold the wing over, so that's giving you your structural support. So if you go in and add a graphic in the middle of that, and you peel the paper back before you fold it over, you know what I mean? The only thing is that it might fold a little wonky because now you're bending that foam board. But I think when you fold that front edge to give your structural support, plus you're boxing, most of the time you're boxing or you're bending that curve in. So let's talk about that. So if you watch John Overstreet's videos, some of those, he's peeling the paper off to make that curve bend.
Sure, you know what I mean? That's the inside.
That's the inside. So why, you know what I mean? I don't know how to answer that, Joe.
Yeah, I'm not trying to pose that as a challenge or like here's a flaw with the thing. It's a legitimate. I mean, do we need to think about wrapping a clear coat on it? You know, whether it be heat shrink or something to reinforce what we've removed. But then we're adding weight back.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that. But so
you mean you haven't tried everything?
No.
Come on, Travis.
So
no, it's good.
I like the fact that you bring that up, Joe, because I'm all about posing challenges. So anybody that's listening, do that. Try that. Give us some feedback on what that's going to be like. If you take a pack or like even a simple plane that FliteTest has, or your own plane, and you paint it first, and then you cut your graphics in by hand and then peel it. What's it going to do to when you bend that plane or put it together? I don't know.
I think if my experience, if you were to cut out the normal things, right, where you put in all the creases and you get it ready for the bend over, but then you go back and you kind of, where it's flat, you put that design on, you cut that after you do the quick paint.
Right.
Like you put on a real light coat of color.
I do.
It makes a big difference. And then then you peel it off after you've already got the rest of it prepped.
Right.
The fold is already sort of stressed out, right? The frame itself, it's already stressed.
Yep.
So that when you're doing the second time and doing the final gluing, most of that stress is gone. So when you peel the top layer with the color and that design, right, you don't have any stress when you peel it back and set it permanently. So you might be able to get away with designs on the top of the wing if you like do all the pre-roll over the wing. You know how they'll say, we'll fold it over and hold it and wait.
Right.
And then now that we've done that, we're going to go back and put glue in there and then fold it back. Like before you fold it back, like that's when you put the design in.
Right.
And you cut it out. And then that might be where you can kind of sink in the design. I'm thinking if it's a tail, you do a design on both sides, and when you peel it off, you do a light coat of color on each side, and then when you peel that design out, like it's still pretty strong. I know with the Easies, doing the walk behind glider, because most of that is like remove paper.
Right.
Everywhere. As much as like everywhere you can.
To lighten it up. Yeah.
To lighten it up to get as close to that 52 grams as I could muster. The big thing with removing too much paper is the durability decreases significantly.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can only crash it so many times before you probably have to rebuild it.
So that's the other thing. That's the other thing I've noticed with for those listeners, if you're cutting that layer of paper with an X-Acto blade, scratch building it, be very, very cautious how deep you go into that foam board, into that foam, because that is now a breakover point. That's a weak point in that foam. And I've noticed that if I get the laser to cut too deep, it'll snap. You know, so that's back to Joe's question about the structural integrity of it. If you're cutting that paper to create a graphic and reveal the white, cut it ever so light cuts to give you a graphic that you're peeling off. FliteTest, I know they have looked at those planes that I've sent them, most of those planes that are on that G, and there's a few others on there. They've played with them, and I remember the mention of the fact that FliteTest is going to kind of probably try to go in the direction of colored foam board, so that it's already pre-colored, so that if they go into making these packs, it's laser cut for you. It's pre-colored. So let's get into that. You kind of just a little bit ago, you asked me about a secret or anything that I can reveal that I found. So everybody's always asking about, how do I paint my foam board, or how do I paint my Adams Ready board and not wrinkle the foam? And everybody resorts to that light. So being a painter, I have tried every type of paint under the sun.
Right, you have access to it all. You've tried it all.
We have access to waterborne paint, to low solvent paint, to full on solvent paint. Solvent is not your friend on foam board. So in the automotive industry, we have what we call waterborne paint. It's a Go Green initiative that started out. It works. We've gotten away from that. I've had my hands on true waterborne paint, and it does just as much damage to that foam board as solvent does. It will absolutely peel the paper right off the foam board. It delaminates it, like latex house paint.
That's when I've looked at programs where they're like, oh, we're going to peel the paper off both sides of the foam, because I guess they're trying to get to like a cheap Depron.
Yep.
I guess.
Right.
I mean, it's not the same, right? But they're like, oh, here's what we're going to do. We're going to just spray it.
Yep.
And then let it sit for like 5 minutes, and then we'll just peel it right off. It comes right off.
Yeah.
And so water is not anybody's friend there.
Right. And then if you get a regular Krylon spray can and you spray it on super heavy, you wrinkle that freaking paper and you wrinkle the foam board underneath. So here's a secret. And I have found this through trial and error. Rust-Oleum 2X is a great, great, great product. You still have to put it on light. The reason you have to still put it on light is because Rust-Oleum came out with their product, Rust-Oleum 2X. It is an oil-based enamel. Oil-based enamels have been around for 100 years. It's what they pinstripe cars with. It's what they painted the windows on old signage with. Oil-based enamels is linseed oil. Okay, so the reason Rust-Oleum 2X works better than regular spray can is because it's a kind of, in a sense, it's a low solvent. So in those spray cans, they have to have a certain amount of solvent to make it go through that can and to thinnen the paint out.
Through the nozzle and not clog, right?
Correct. So there's a preload of solvent in those cans when they run that through the manufacturer. But it's oil-based enamel. So that's why it dries slower. If you notice, if you spray a can of Rust-Oleum 2X and then you spray Krylon, the Krylon or the other cheap paint flashes off super fast and you can touch it. That Rust-Oleum X takes a little bit longer to dry. It's a linseed oil. It's an oil-based enamel. So with understanding that, when I paint foam board, of course I'm using a professional scale automotive paint gun. Anybody can use remember the old Wagner electric spray guns that you can buy?
Yep. You put on the end of your hose.
Yeah, or you just plug it in. It has a thing and it burn. They're coming out with some new electric spray guns. So for my secret to painting foam board is go and buy Rust-Oleum oil-based enamel. Don't buy, you can buy it in little pint cans, you can buy it in quart cans, you can buy it in gallon cans. Make sure it says oil-based enamel. And mix it like a 2-to-1 ratio. So 2 part paints to 1 part mineral spirits or paint thinner.
Okay.
So don't use lacquer thinner, don't use acetone, don't use MEK, don't use urethane grade reducer. Those are super, super aggressive solvents. Mineral spirits and paint thinner is super, super low solvents thinner. So and you can spray foam board without it wrinkling up. It just lays down amazing. So for those that don't have spray guns and getting into the automotive industry and going and buying a Harbor Freight, you can buy a $15 gun. For those that don't have what do I want to say, an air compressor available to run a
Mhm.
regular spray gun, you can go to the hardware store and you can buy those electric sprayers and mix that paint. But when I'm talking about paint, Rust-Oleum paint, it's not Rust-Oleum 2X. You want to get out of the spray can aisle and you want to go over to the house paints. And you want to buy cans and you want to mix it on a 2-to-1 mix ratio. And that seems to be the end-all be-all to painting foam board. So when I paint it, I'll paint a light coat, let it flash off, and I'll spray a second coat. So it's just kind of one of those things you got to figure out yourself. But that's kind of the secret to the cake right there is Rust-Oleum oil-based enamel with mineral spirits. It's what I use all the time. And
awesome.
I don't have to.
I've looked up.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, I've looked at what you give me. And every time I look at that, I'm like, wait, are you sure this isn't like a impregnated color? Like, you know, it's a really solid layer of color. And I know it's real thin, but it's attached well. You know, sometimes it gets powdery, right? Like I've seen some paints where once it's dried, you kind of do that and you get some on your hands. Like none of that's happening. So whatever you do, like creates a really solid color coat. And, you know, and there's no wrinkles at all. I'm assuming you got your plan down with that, you know.
Right.
But it sounds like anybody could really do it without much fuss.
Correct. So that Rust-Oleum, it's an oil-based enamel. Here's the benefit to it too. So Josh and the team have tried really, really hard to create waterproof foam board. You know, they've worked with Adams Ready board and you know the brown board and this and that and the other. So when you paint Rust-Oleum oil-based enamel in that can, whether it be a pint can or whatever, it's soaking into that paper through that mineral spirits. You're thinning it out enough, but that mineral spirits is not going to eat into that Depron foam that's underneath. But you're also waterproofing the foam board with that Rust-Oleum enamel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a double whammy, you know. So it's just one of those things.
Nice.
But that's what I've found out. That's a secret that just seems to work for me. But Rust-Oleum 2X is basically the same concoction. It's Rust-Oleum oil-based enamel, but you have that solvent to make it go through the spray can. What that solvent is in there, I couldn't tell you, but it's pretty aggressive. So
yeah, I mean, because everybody wants to like spray and be able to do stuff with it pretty quick. Most people are pretty impatient.
Correct.
You know, waiting for a day for the oils to absorb / dry is, you know.
Yep.
That's one of the benefits of oil paint, right? If you're doing a full painting, is that you can paint your thing and come back tomorrow and mix in more color.
Yep.
Right. Like it takes a whole week of just sitting there, and even then, yeah, maybe.
Yep.
You know,
oil paints have been around for hundreds of years, man.
Whereas acrylics, they're solid in an hour, right? Like a regular, like if you're making a painting, right, with regular acrylic paints, like the benefit of it is like in an hour, one, it washes out of your clothes, like it's water base, but it also, like, you know, in an hour it's ready to do the next coat.
Right.
You don't have to wait terribly long compared to the oils. If you're wanting to do a totally separate color and lay it on top of what you just did, you're going to have to wait a week.
Right.
Like you'll have to come back.
Right.
Yeah. And that's also one of the benefits of it, right?
Right. So I have not put it directly over Maker Foam. Maker Foam has that kind of that sheen to it to make it waterproof. I have noticed that if you spray really, really light coats on that Maker Foam, you don't have to sand it with Rust-Oleum 2X. But there again, it's like Joe said, light coats. And just let it dry, let it tack up. Because oil-based enamel will stick to glass. It'll stick to a lot of stuff. It's just, that's what we use on pinstriping cars. We don't sand that car before we pinstripe it. And it'll stay on there for a long, long time.
Nice.
So for those that can't find oil-based enamels, if you have a TSC or an Orscheln's or a Baumgart's or whatever it is around your area, believe it or not, old tractor implement paint is oil-based enamel. So you can go to so just tractor implement paint. It's oil-based enamel. and just use mineral spirits or paint thinner. That's your choice of solvents. So, but yeah, try that when you guys are doing that stuff. But yeah, so like I said earlier, Joe, you brought up the question of what's it going to do to a full scale, and I pose a challenge to anybody: get back with us. Post it on the board, show us what you're doing. I want to touch on something that we did choose to do in Sim Tent. Everybody knows those gliders, the Euro glider, and what we found out this year is to push inspiring kids to do aviation and to try to make things fly. It brought both Trevor and I to tears with happiness, because trying to teach kids how to get into aviation and understanding what's going on and what you're actually doing and building and this and that and the other. We posed a challenge to these gliders, and it's this year we put out the P-51 Mustang glider that Josh and the team have built. There's their glider and the Eurofighter, and we posed a challenge that anybody that brings us this plane as a flying plane, you're going to build it as a glider, but if you take it back to the build tent and you bring it back to us as a flying plane, we'll give you any plane you want. We want to see it, challenge them to take that glider and make it a flying plane. We had one kid come back on Saturday evening and took that Eurofighter, and you could see where he had hacked it and cut it and hacked it and cut it and hacked it and cut it. And he came up to me, and it was Francesco was his name. Francesco, I'm probably butchering it wrong, but it was the family from Italy. And his dad was there with his two boys, and it was fun. His dad's interaction with those two boys made it fun to teach those kids. He brought it back and he goes, I made it fly. And I said, you're kidding me. And so he goes, yeah, I made the Eurofighter fly. He built it in class that day. And that night, it was getting close to about 6 or 7 o'clock. And we went out to the fly field, and he threw it up in the air. And I mean, that thing flew amazing. But like I said, you could see where he had cut it, and he relocated the engines, and he relocated the power packs. And he's got tape wrapped around it, and he's figuring out the CG, and that's what we try to inspire, is to get that kid to think, get these kids to think. You're not just building a plane, you're building something that you can modify, and
make it yours, experiment, learn.
Yeah.
Keep coming back. I feel like it's almost like Mike Patey. His intro to all of his videos is like, we're doing engineering, we're learning, we're building, we're crashing, we're busting it up, we're making it better, and we're rebuilding it. Like it's about that process. That's what it's all for.
Right. And that's what FliteTest STEM is all about, is getting them. And I think that's even on one of their mottos, is like, it's like build, crash, repeat, or something like that.
Yeah, build, fly, crash, repeat.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I mean, I said, how many? And I asked him, I said, Francesco, how many times do you crash it? And he goes, I don't know. And and he had it glued where you could tell he was gluing it. He was working on it. This was his goal, was because he gets any plane he wants.
He's like, I'm getting any kid I want.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Yeah, and so it was kind of crazy. So I seen the thing fly. He flew it, brought it back to us, and he goes, I said, you won. You know what I mean? It was just like,
yeah, you did it.
You did it. I was so happy. I was like, let's go back to the tent, the STEM tent. We took him back we had the curtains up, and I said, any one of these planes, and he goes, well, can I just choose what I want? I was like, you know what? We got a bunch of these planes. It's the last day of build. I said, you want them all? And he goes, no, I just want to see what I want. He chose a few that were easy packs, but the majority of them was gliders. And I said, why you want gliders? Because I want to make them fly. And so the majority of the planes that he chose, out of all those planes to choose that were in packages that FliteTest had provided. And I want to be very clear, FliteTest provides a ton of planes to give away. They go above and beyond on the amount of planes they give away for those that STEM tent. But the majority of the planes that he chose was gliders. And I said, why do you want gliders? And that was his response. He said, because I want to make them all fly.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, dude, it brought me to tears. And so it's just like, holy cow. So I took him over to Trevor, and Trevor's with a group of teachers. Here's the crazy thing. And I told Trevor, and he showed Trevor, and Trevor goes, what did you do? And this and that, in a group of teachers that were there learning how to incorporate this into teaching. And most of those teachers kind of started to tear up.
Yeah.
It was.
Because that's why you do it, right?
That's why you do it.
That's why you do it.
That's why you do it. Man, that's what made that weekend so worth it. So I was, and Trevor's like, go over to Josh, before they close, go over and tell Josh. And so Jen was just kind of closing up, and I said, hey, Jen, hang on a second. I want to meet you. Here's Francesco. This is a challenge we did. And he showed the plane, and she immediately called Josh. Josh comes over, and he took pictures with Josh. And Josh was like, let me see. And he showed him, and he explained to Josh. And Jen goes, so what did you give him? I said, he could have any plane he wanted in the STEM tent. She goes, I'm going to push this a little bit farther. She goes, Francesco, would you like to have any plane in the store you want? And he just he got quiet. He didn't know what to say. And she goes, I'm serious.
Right. And like, am I being greedy by saying yes?
Yeah.
But at the same point, like, what?
Yeah. So, yeah. And she goes, what? Josh is on his way over here to meet you. Would you like to have any plane in here you want? And he goes, can I walk around and choose my plane? And she goes, I'm going to write it on a card. So you got it. And you come in Sunday. We're about to close up. Josh comes over and he goes, yeah, any plane in here you want. And so it was just like, what a reward, you know?
It is. And even when you look at the combats, like every time you go into the combat, they're giving away I don't know what they will give away. Usually it's kind of ambiguous, but most of the time, if I recall right, at least one of those crashes, right?
Right.
Where Stefan's calling out random stuff like hit the sign or, hey, look at that giant Noob Wonder. If you can bring it down, you got yourself a free plane, you know?
A free plane.
Just bring it. Yeah, or whatever it is. And he just like, I'll give you something. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be great. And so what they'll do is, that's continually like, and they have 4 combats a day.
Yeah.
3 or 4 combats a day. So, throughout the weekend, they're giving a bunch of the kits away, but it's an investment in the community and in that mentality of, I'm glad you came up with something that I want to see what else you can do. Just let your mind go wild. Take whatever you need.
That's it.
And do more fun with it. Let it happen. I want to see what you come up with, because that's what this is for. That's all of this is for.
That's it.
And then of course, you look at my room, it's like, that's what all that experiment. And I'm sure if we went to your other rooms, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what all this was for.
Right.
Is to experiment and discover and learn and have an incredible experience doing all that.
That's
right?
it.
Yeah. That's so cool.
It was so cool. And it was just like, and that's, for that to happen in front and to come to fruition out of that STEM tent.
Right.
It's inspiring me. It's inspiring. It's just, words can't explain it, man. Words.
No, man.
But so cool, man.
Travis, I feel like this is the perfect spot to end, because it's just so, dude, what a great story and what a great way. Like, I think that highlights all the reasons why you and I connected.
Right.
And the reason why we all come to STEM, to Flight Fest.
Right.
And why Joe and I are doing this podcast even.
Right.
Is to get those kids who are getting that spark. And even if it's adults who are getting that spark, because it took me till I was like 40 for I realized this was a spark and a passion. And it's like, I'm in, and I want to see that grow.
Right.
And I know Joe does too. Obviously, Travis, you're the same mindset. I want to thank you so much, Travis, for joining us today, sharing those tips, sharing the stories, enriching the community overall for all our seers. You know what I mean? Like, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for having me. So
yeah. Is there anything you want to add? Anything you want to like let people know where to go find your stuff? I'm going to provide a link to the Class G YouTube site, a couple of links to maybe the STEM kits and the air museums that we talked about, the episodes that you're involved in. So if you're listening to this in YouTube, like go to the description, it'll be there. If you're listening on your podcast thing, go to the bottom. We'll have links there. Click them, go see this, what you're doing. And I hope that inspires more guys and gals to just see what possibilities they can dream up.
Exactly. And share those possibilities. I mean, because
please.
Yeah, absolutely. Because everybody can learn and everybody can try. And that's just what's going to keep this hobby alive. It really is. So,
yeah. Otherwise it's the old men club.
Yep. Yeah. Right. And we got too many of those, so, but,
too many of those.
So anyhow, well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it very much. It was a blast.
Yeah.
So
Travis, thank you for coming on and sharing your valuable time with us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. Wanted to do it. We talked about this for years. So yeah. So
literally
we have.
I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? We need to talk about this. And you're like, oh, I can't.
Yeah.
But I want to, but I can't. And this year you're like, you know what? Like part of the cat's out of the bag.
Yep.
Let's do it. Let's just do it.
Let's just do it. So thanks for having me, guys.
Guys, yeah, thank you so much, Travis.
Absolutely. Have a great night.
All right, Joe, you want to break us out?
Yeah, I can do that, I suppose. Or I could make them wait until next time.
For what?
To hear me do it.
Oh, man.
I'll do it.
Travis already knows. He listens to the podcast.
I do listen to the podcast.
Oh, well, then let's give Travis the treat. All right. Say again?
No, you go ahead. You haven't talked much at all, Joe. Go ahead, brother.
It's fine. Well, guys, as always, we thank you for tuning in and listening. Hopefully you've enjoyed listening to this conversation as much as we've enjoyed having it. Thank you again, Travis, for coming on and spending so much time with us and sharing such a unique method of getting your planes looking nice. And for those who are going to try this, if you're going to try it on a full scale, the size we build at, if you do it, let us know how the structural integrity turns out. That's one I'm curious about. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can email Matt. Otherwise, if you have any praise, you can email Travis. Feel free to reach out to us on Facebook. I believe there's a Twitter page that Matt might play with, or is that thing kind of long ago?
I don't. Let's
ignore that. Okay.
We can revisit that next time.
Well, feel free to reach out to us on the Facebook page if you want, or better yet, join the Discord. We got guys who are always talking, always building, always sharing. And if you got questions, they love to answer questions for you. You feel free to reach out to us via email, aviationrcnoob@gmail.com. And that might be about it. So, Matt, if you got nothing else?
No, I have nothing else. I just thanks so much for your time. And Joe, it's amazing to see you again, buddy. I miss you.
I miss you too, man. It's good to be back. Hopefully a little bit longer. I can start building again.
Yeah, and Travis, I know you now officially joined the Discord community, so don't be a stranger there if you don't mind. Share your stuff, what you're doing, inspire the rest of us to, because you'd be surprised. You share a little bit of something, and then they'll be like, we get somebody like Sasha who'll just come by and go, wait a second, hold on. Hold the phone. Let me put down my drink here.
Right.
Sasha, he's off to the races. Will give you a run for his money.
Yeah, it's fantastic. He's he's a young kid who's just passionate.
That's
about aviation. He's just on fire. That's fantastic.
That's fantastic, man. So, all right, good night, guys.
That thought. Yeah, but say hold that thought. We'll talk more after. All right, guys. We'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
And I ended up doing a history on the Bonanza, so I apologize if You can tell us what the difference is between that and the Sundowner.
Oh, when we it's just quite a bit more. It's just a bigger.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Bigger, better plane.
It's
more
that
horsepower. Landing gear. Controllable pitch.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
they went with all the bells and whistles with that.
Yeah, the Bonanza, the V-tail Bonanza is like the Dr. Killer. That's what.
Yeah, it is, baby.
Yeah,
bring it.
It is. It's the V-tail, and then they kind of got away from the V-tail and went straight to vertical and horizontal stabilizer in the new ones. But you're talking a couple $100,000 plane on that one, and that's on the cheap side. But
yeah, right.
Yeah, but the plane that I got is the Beechcraft Sundowner C-23. So they made, to my understanding, 4 different models in general aviation, probably even a 5th. But so it went. The Musketeer was the smallest, the Sundowner, the Debonair, and then the Bonanza. And the Debonair.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Debonair is when you start getting a controllable pitch, and
Well, I apologize. So you can expand and tell us how I should have got it right.
Oh no! Just elaborating a little.
No, and tell us. No, but then we can talk about it. It should be pretty good.
So, are we good to go? Are we started? Have we started? So
if like a hobbit were to store all the things, all the places, and we just kind of walk around in the little paths in between.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate y'all tuning in. I lost my regular flow.
Thanks as always.
Yeah, we're going to have to edit this bit a bit. How do I normally do it?
No, we're keeping it all in.
No.
It's just going at the end after the bleeps.
Okay, that's fair. Well, guys, as always. Oh, he's gone.
Okay, well, I mean, we have the recording, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what we wanted.
Do you want me to call him back?
You're welcome to, or just let him be. You can message and be like, you didn't have to leave.
hold on. No, I know, man. Dang it, where the heck did he go? I'm trying to find. There we go.